Bonjour, Montréal! Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Six Invitational 2020. We're on the main stage, if you can tell by the sounds around me, and this is day 2. We've already gone through 2 grueling games on Friday, but here, we're back, and it's the Analyst Desk. We're gonna have a bit of a pre-show, and as usual, I'm joined by some of the best in the business. I'm Sam Milos Finj. With me are Mr. Alex Dahlgard Hansen, aka Zeronic, the loser from yesterday's games. And of course, it's Miss Jessica Bolden. Jess, how are you guys doing?
I'm feeling really, really good, and I'm really excited for today's games.
I mean, today we get to find out if it's going to be EU or LATAM who gets knocked out. So there's a lot on the line.
It's definitely going to be a big show, a lot on the line, as you say. That's our first game a bit later. North America still has a very good chance of winning the entire thing with 2 out of the 4 teams coming in from the region. But if you missed yesterday, fret not, because we have a recap video of day 1 here on the stage. Enjoy.
In this 1 versus 3, he needs to clutch up. Otherwise, it's a 7-0 going to BDS. He's out of time. All the Lens has to do is deny it right now. And that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. BDS take control 2-0 in this series. A flawless round for Nip. Yes, it is. Absolutely incredible play by both Ninjas and Pyjamas. It's now a 2v2, but the diffuser will need to go down as Pino, the star of the show, picks up his 3rd kill, and that's it. Lights out for Dark Zero. The Ninjas strike.
Indeed, very much a crazy day 1 here at Six Invitational, and it only gets better. That's really it here today. Welcome back. And yes, we might have 2 less teams in this contest, but the best is yet to come. Fnatic and Dark Zero are out, but NIP BDS moved through 2 swift 2-0s. TSM and Space Station playing on later today. The top 2 teams right now, hot off of North America, hot off of groups and playoffs. Finally, they get to play after a bit of rest. Ladies and gentlemen, how are we looking today?
I'm feeling good. How are you feeling, Alex?
Feeling great.
Yeah, good, good. I'm a little bit concerned for TSM and SSG having a break, though. You know, you get into that relaxation mode, you're feeling good, and then you get on the stage and you're a little bit tired. You need a little bit of a wake-up. Maybe we might see a warm-up map for the first map, at least.
I don't know. I think if anyone's been watching the NIP games, they are, they're probably pretty awake.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not like BDS had any less of a hot game really against Fnatic. 7-0 on map 1, Cafe Dostoevsky, and a 7-5 on Consulate. That end clip there where we saw the run of the SMG-11 in the 1v1, it broke many, many hearts, to say the least.
But I think that might come back and haunt them a bit, right? Because the game they had against Fnatic isn't going to be a game they're going to have against any other team. Fnatic really didn't show up in that, and while I love to see Fnatic play, they weren't a worthy opponent of BDS yesterday, at all.
All right, well, we have our schedule for today. That's some big words, I have to say. Let's see if they get backed up today. We have our schedule for today. We're going to work through that in a bit later. You see all these replays that we have on screen for you. Much action, but yeah, this was map 2 in between BDS and Fnatic, and this is where it really got hot between them. And oddly enough, after that first map, I was very proud of Fnatic to be able to kind of put themselves back in shape and in order to fight back on another map.
It was a little bit of a worry for Fnatic. They did lose that first round going into the second map, and you sort of feel for a team like that, where you come into a new map and you want them to start off again. You want them to refresh, to reset themselves, and they didn't really. So they had to mid-map, and to ask a player to reset mid-map is very, very difficult.
I mean, they managed to do it, right? And they did start really coming back, and they played it really well in some parts of the second map, but it's just way too late. You're 7-0 down, and just catching up there, you have 1 or 2 slip-ups and then you're out from the whole thing. So it's not a likely thing to happen, right?
It took 11 rounds won by BDS in between the 2 maps until Fnatic finally started to put something on the board, and then they were able to clean those 5 up. And they were very comfortable actually in them, unlike what we saw later on. This is why we're applauding their ability to kind of recap and be in it. And a lot of props to Dizzle and Magnet, of course, both being able to put the team back together. Used to be in the past when Magnet kind of fell down in momentum, you would see the entire team going down with him. That was the case last year, but the team definitely has changed for the better. That, though, has been Fnatic. BDS moving forward as they kind of put things back in shape. We'll talk about them later in depth once we get to their match. But with Dark Zero and NIP, it was still NIP kind of outplaying Dark Zero at every turn in Poland.
I got to talk a little bit to Zach, the owner of Dark Zero, yesterday after the game, and they didn't underestimate them or anything. They just got beat.
They got outplayed. It happens.
It was a proper beating, and I think that woke the team up a little bit as well. And there was no excuses. Nip just simply played a lot better.
Yeah, you could really see it in the clips here that we're showing up for you. And on border, 7-3 victory for NIP. They had 4 rounds on the attack, and Dark Zero tried to slow NIP down so often by just putting as many reinforcements in their face as possible. Hatches, walls, and everything, but still did not work. NIP fixed the big thing that we talked about yesterday, Jess.
I'm really excited to say that they did fix the verticality problem that they did have. I wouldn't say that they were prowess at it. That wasn't their prowess. Rather, it was the gun skill that really outshone for them. And I think going into it, they could pick it up a lot more. Pino obviously being the key player there. So if he continues to provide verticality for his team, we're going to see a very, very strong showing from them.
Not only that, but when they do get their entry frags, they don't wait for another one to come. Right. They go search them out, actively. So instead of having a refrag system that most teams should have, they almost have a refrag team in terms of entry fragging as well, where if you get one, you go looking for the next right away, because it's much harder for defense to come together and set up crossfires that way. That
only comes together when you know your roles and you trust your teammates in what they're doing. Building up this level of trust takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, Jess. And for you, as a coach that has gone through all of this for the past couple of years, you know it all too well.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of work that goes into role specialization, operator specialization. You see Pino, he obviously knows what his job is to do. It's both to use his frag grenades at expert levels, it's to open up holes for his teammates, and then it's to turn around and be a gunner at the end of the day. And that's a lot to think about as a player, as well as giving shot calls alongside his other players. So I think he's doing an absolute expert job.
Alex?
I think Pino speaks for himself with that skeleton key. The ability to get that entry frag and instantly be ready. We saw yesterday on the Coastline was a good example where he gets an entry frag, instantly jumps to the stairs, sits there with the skeleton key just waiting, and not only using that for soft destruction, but as a gun. It's something we've seen it quite a lot in last year's time, but back when Buck came out, it wasn't something that was used that much, and the killing potential on that secondary is pretty impressive.
On stairs definitely does the work, but thank you so much for your information. Let's go through our schedule for today. One thing to highlight though, that if it says on the schedule that this game starts at 5 p.m. local time here in Montreal, it means that it starts at that exact time. So set your time, set your schedule, because this is how we're going to run through it. Our pre-show, which is happening right now, is followed by BDS versus Ninjas in Pyjamas. I know a lot of people are excited for the season panel. It's a lot of things that'll be shown here by our friends over at Ubisoft. And finally, we have a big big game between our top two North American teams, the Space Station Gaming versus TSM. Definitely cannot wait for it here. Any closing thoughts here before we're ready?
I just want to get into that game. I'm pretty excited for the first one, to be honest.
I'm really unsure about the first one. That's what makes me so excited. So I really want to see a good game between these two teams.
All right, Montreal, are you ready? That's what I want to hear. Onto the stage with Anna.
Good morning, Six Invitational. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling pretty good too, and that's because all of us are in for a treat to start the day. We get to watch two of the best teams in the world face off. Sounds pretty good to me. How about you? These two teams have flown in the face of expectations with dominating performances leading up to this point. And they are the only hopes for their region, so we couldn't ask for anything more to be on the line. This is going to be delicious competition. Are you ready to bring them to the stage? Good. Our first team is the only European hope. They took down Fnatic yesterday with a dominating 7-0 performance in the first map. In this team, watch for Shaiko at the apex of his comeback. Let's prepare to welcome our first team. Let's hear it for BDS Esport! Welcome, Shaiko, LMs, RX, Rafal, and Ranshiro. But there is a team that stands in their way. It is the only LATAM hope left in the tournament. They defied expectations by taking down the Titans G2 in order to get here. And on this team, watch for the veteran Julio, but the rising star Muzi is also showing us great play. Let's get ready to welcome them now. Let's hear it for Ninjas in Pyjamas! Welcome, Psycho, Kamikaze, Pino, Muzi, Julio, and Bob! Who will win and come one step closer to hoisting that hammer? We are so close to finding out. Let's get into this match right now.
So hello, I'm LMs, support flex player for Team BDS.
My name is Gabriel Paraviso. My nickname is Pino. I play for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
So the last game we played against Fnatic, the Australian team, and we won the match 2-0.
The last game, I knew that was gonna be an easy game because of Dark Zero play style. They play really passive and us play really aggressive. So it was an easy match, that's it.
For the next match, we played against NIP, the Brazilian team. They finished first of their group, and they are a very, very good team, and also friends. So yeah, it will be an exciting match. first we're gonna play our game because that's what we do at every moment. And on the second time, I think we're gonna adapt on what they do. We're just gonna see what they do, make gamble, and that's it.
Fnatic choked. They didn't play their best. That's why BDS won. We are playing BDS now, and I think their play style really fits with our play style. So I think it's gonna be another easy match. Então é isso, guys. A gente vai contra pra cima desses caras, falta 2 jogos pra final e é isso, mano. Torce pra caralho pra gente e vamos com tudo, mano. Go Ninjas.
Good luck and have fun.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the analyst desk. Yes, we're going to kick off game number 1 in just a few minutes. NIP versus BDS. Again, welcome. I'm Samuel Finch. With me are again 2 best in the business. Hear that, Emzo? Zeronic and Jess. We're here. We're ready for it. Let's break this one down. We have our rosters first. Let's take a look at what BDS are bringing in this matchup. Shaiko, Alems, Rafal, Renshiro, and RXWD. Not only are they the last European hope, but the first French team in ages to make it to a big stage. Millennium is the closest one that comes to mind, but realistically, so far in a big tournament, it hasn't been since Youngtis won in year 1. If you want to count the minors, you can say DreamHack Austin, where Millennium was able to beat EG. That was our first ever minor in the format. Otherwise, this is really it. So a lot of French fans are going to be looking forward to them.
Yeah, look, I'm really excited for all of Europe, actually, because this is our last hope. And I say our because I'm a bit of a converted European now. Obviously, I get to have one hand in APAC, one in Europe. And for me, it's a lot of pride to say that, you know, Europe still has one standing. Unfortunately, APAC doesn't.
I mean, there's always a little bit more fun when we don't have the same 2 nations playing against each other, right? Because it's two different fan groups fighting about who wins, and I like a good storyline, so I'm a fan of setups like this.
Speaking of storylines, here's our NIP roster: Julio, Pino, Muzi, Psycho, and Kamikaze. And yeah, storyline coming into Japan Pro League Finals Season 10. Tokoname, unfortunately, due to the history between the 2 countries, 2 players could not attend the event. And we have 2 replacement players coming in from Spain that play in the Spanish Nationals, came in 2 hours before the game and were able to play pretty decently in that matchup. This is the redemption arc for NIP, however. They're here, full lineup, Bob the Builder's behind them. They have all the safety harnesses, so everything's going well so far.
Well, you mentioned full lineup. There's another thing worth noticing is that they have a coach. BDS doesn't. And stuff like that can matter a lot once you start, you know, losing a few rounds. Your technical timeout is going to look a little bit different if it's because you're arguing. Whereas if you have a coach who can say, guys, we need to reset, we need to let this go, and then get on with doing our stuff instead.
All right, we have our head-to-head. We picked 1 player from each team. We're going to compare them here. Shaiko and Pino. Kill-death ratio up there. Opening kill is up there. Operator's a bit different. Alex, Jess, can you please explain to me the reasoning behind picking specifically these 2?
Look, I think obviously Pino's a very obvious pick from NIP. He absolutely popped off yesterday. And Shaiko, when his operators are in play for him, that's when he shines. And I'm very surprised teams aren't making, you know, a big change in their bans against BDS, and we didn't see that. And I wish we had of, because it would have been far more effective to ban out a really key player and then focus on the other players. And I think that's why Shaiko's been shining.
Normally, I'm not a fan of banning an operator to counter the skill of a player, but if you look at Shaiko, he was plus 44. He's the only guy on his team that stands out so much in terms of fragging. So anything he can do to put a stick in that wheel and just slow him down a little bit. Because, I mean, it's terrifying when he starts popping off. He got an ace in his 2nd round yesterday.
That's his 2nd ace of the tournament.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the few that we've had so far. And of course, on the main stage, the first one to see. But yes, you can see the difference in play styles. Is there any major difference in play style between these 2 teams? Because we heard it in the interview. You know, the styles are very similar, but it looks like really BDS is trying to play NIP's game, but a bit slower.
We spoke about this before, actually, and I love the way that Alex put it. It's almost as if BDS are trying to play exactly like NIP do, but they're just not there yet. Their aggressiveness, their speed, their velocity is good, but but it's not NIP good. And it's almost like we're seeing the baby version of NIP sort of going against the full version. So I'll be excited to see whether or not that plays well or it plays unfavorably for them.
I think both of the teams going into this are having two completely different ideas of what it is that's going to happen. Because we heard Nip talk a little bit of trash, and I like it. They're saying it's going to be another easy game. I think BDS assumes this is going to be a pretty tight game.
Last time NIP were on the big stage, that was the old squad of Black Dragons, and they played Six Invitational 2018, where they lost to the eventual winners of Penta Sports, that are now G2's core roster, after they won the entire tournament and last year. So maybe NIP are looking for the crown again. But let's take a look at our map veto. As usual, we run a best of 3 series with a 7-map pool in professional play. First 2 bans, ban, pick, ban, and then our deciders map 7. That's Coastline Cafe, our first 2 bans. Bank picked by BDS, and actually they were starting on attack specifically on this map. Border, our pick for NIP. So, it means like NIP will control the final ban as Consulate out BDS's side. Where will we go? It's Clubhouse. So there's NIP's Villa ban. Kind of cornered into it as they don't really play that often. The club as our decider. By the way, for people that don't know, which side you start on depends on how many rounds you've won in the first 2 maps if you're on the 3rd one. The team that has won the most rounds in the first 2 maps gets to decide which side they start on map 3, or decider. But since Bank is our first map, we have a bit of a video here to break things down and how the map functions.
Bank, don't go through the front door, because there's always going to be someone lurking there. It's just the deadliest, I find it's generally just the deadliest spot to try and go through. So try and go around the side, assault from above, never go through the front door. It's just a killing field, it's super funny.
There's a lot of roaming potential. That would be the key aspect of definition, but there is a bunch of aspects to that map that are fairly unique, certain key spots that needs to be taken into consideration. But if I had to remember one thing is, for me at least, would be that roaming is very manageable for defense, and the attacking team needs to bring assets to deal with it.
It makes for very interesting gameplay because it's sometimes being a little bit cat and mouse and you're trying to clear out who's trying to defend if you're attacking. So it actually makes it quite fun and quite challenging to actually assault.
I think there would be, it's the contrast between the basement and the top floor, where the basement is encased in hard walls everywhere and you have to evolve through the map to get there and have a lot of control over most aspects of the map to actually do your final push, whereas the top floor on the other end, whether you're defending or attacking, is totally different gameplay. A lot of line of sight are available to the attacking team from the outside, from even far away from the outside, and they can leverage a lot more of the long-range options against me, and I have to take that into account as a defender. Likely a lot of reinforcement in odd places that needs to cut line of sight, and possibly even a castle to cut some of the biggest window line of sight that they have. But despite that, it's going to be a very different gameplay as a defender. I need to force them into the building to bring the fight to me and not challenge them outside. Overall, it hasn't changed too much. A bunch of operators have brought different gameplay mechanic. We had a long period of time where the only way, it seems, to push downstairs was a combination of Ying, Glass, probably Lion, and that kind of disturbing operator. Now it has changed because those operators change as well, and a lot more emphasis has been put into controlling a large aspect of the map. One of the key locations of that map is likely the blue stairs at the bottom square, where you can on your own hold a bunch of attackers just by yourself, and it leads to this interesting situation where attacking team needs to come up with ideas to solve that problem.
Thanks so much, Emilien and Jeremy, for that explanation for newcomers. I know, Invitational, biggest event of the year. Many people will come in and try to learn what we consider now the basics, but this is after many, many years of playing and watching professional playing games at home. But we're back here. We know our maps. We're going to be starting off on BDS, on that bank, and BDS starting off on the attack. That's how it happens. So let's dig a bit deeper into map number 1. We talked about the clashing playstyles, NIP being a bit more effective with BDS kind of trying to copy the playstyle in some way. How do you see this first map going?
I'm a little bit concerned about Bank getting through to begin with. I'm unsure why they did NIP did their first ban. I would have thought Bank would have continued to be their default ban because it is. I'm now also just thinking in the back of my head, I'm now concerned for BDS because quite clearly they're counter-stratting everything that they've got going, and that might possibly be their strategy by letting it go through. So I don't know what their plan is by letting Bank go through. Clearly BDS is going to pick that. That's one of their favorite maps. If BDS lose on it, then I'm really concerned for BDS.
So we saw BDS struggle a little bit against Rec on Bank because of the Thatcher ban. That took them a while to figure out. So, I mean, Nip's completely fine with the Thatcher ban, right? Or maybe they could go for something like a Habana ban, because we've seen Rafael struggle a little bit with Mav and Hatches. So I'm pretty sure Nip is doing this because they'd rather get that map out of the way to start with, because they didn't seem worried at all.
Point. Any defense operators you see on your side, Jess, to be banned?
Oh, look, I would like to see a Kaid ban. I always say this on Bank. I would love to see a Kaid ban. A lot of teams just use it as just a default crutch operator for the downstairs specifically. So if they don't ban that, we're just going to see default bans, a Mirror, an Echo, etc.
Closing thoughts, Alex. How do you see this going?
I think Nip's onto something with it potentially not being that difficult of a game for them.
Jess?
Well, as Nip said, GG easy, and as BDS said, good luck, have fun. So we'll see how that goes for them.
All right, thank you so much for your input, ladies and gentlemen. I guess it is time for us to kick this game and put it in on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, here Montreal at home. Are you ready? It's game number 1 of the day. NIP playing against BDS Esport, EU Latin America. Let's get the show on the road. Map 1, Bank, Kicks and Terrell, on to you.
Well, it's always sad to say goodbye to a region, and today is going to be no different. Is it going to be the Brazilian team, or is it going to be the French team? And, well, these squads haven't matched up, so we don't really know what to expect. We know their play styles, but how do they actually clash against one another? That's the question.
It is a really good question, and I can't wait to get the answer. We're going to go ahead and jump into Bank, as we talked about, as our map number 1. This is super exciting because both of these teams have, I think, gone above expectations for them at this tournament. On Bank in particular, BDS have actually played this map quite a lot at this event, and it's been a close one for them. Managed to beat both MIBR, Reciprocity, and Wildcard here, but that Reciprocity Wildcard Bank was really close. For Ninjas and Pyjamas, they haven't played this map at this event, so that's something to consider. Bans coming out here, Thatcher and Montaigne on the attack.
Now here's something that needs to be repeated over and over again. NIP have not played this map at the Six Invitational at all.
Yeah.
0 plays on Bank and 0 plays on Villa. Villa is usually their standard ban. They rotate it with Bank depending on the team.
Ooh.
But you've seen it 3 times with BDS. They've won every single time. Some of them have been harder fought than others, 2-7-2s over Wildcard and MIBR. But most of the time their bans are pretty similar. A Monty ban is not something that they're used to doing, and we've seen Psycho play on Montaigne on a couple different maps now. So, smart move, and it's something, maybe they scrimmed against them, maybe they have intel that we don't know. There are a lot of things that we are just going to be flying blind in here and having to speculate on.
Right. Kind of have to just take it as it comes, and we'll see what these teams give us. There's something to consider as well, the way that these teams tend to play. Both of them are pretty adaptable, and so they'll show us new things throughout the maps. Stuff that we've not seen before. New angles here and there. Changes to account for how their opponent is setting up a defense or executing an attack. And that's really the beauty of watching both NIP and BDS, is it makes things so very interesting. The team that loses this match will be the team that falls behind in adapting to their opponent. Mark my words. Ninjas and Pyjamas setting up with the basement defense first. Kaid being brought here, so that's going to slow down opening those drops, especially with the Thatcher ban being a thing. For those of you who don't know, Thatcher is one of the best operators to deal with those Kaid electric claws. When you place it on a drop down, well, it's going to be electrocuted for the majority of the round now. Maverick's going to be tasked with opening up those drops because you can't just EMP the electric claws away. Shaiko playing that Maverick. I'm sure he's well practiced in opening up the drop downs. You can open 2 drops with 1 set of those blowtorch.
Mav was banned out once by BDS, and when you ban operators, you likely know how to play around them. You know that you don't have them at your disposal. They're more often a handicap for your opponents. So every single Heart Breacher being available on Bank is not something that we see much, if at all. This could be really challenging. Shaiko gets the leadoff kill in this series onto Julio, but Pino, a man whose name we were saying so much yesterday, answers back and takes the star player from BDS out of the round.
Now here's the thing. That's Julio exchanged for Shaiko. Shaiko's supposed to be the counter to those Electric Claws, which means that Electric Claws that are pre-placed will slow down the take quite a lot. Those drop downs unlikely to get opened up. Now one of them was used on the drop for the top floor, which means that it's not going to assist the anchor play. You can see that one electrocuting the drop there. Also, small office drop is preemptively opened by the defense. You can see that Ninjas Pyjamas want to go for a roam fall back strat. They've already fallen back, having gotten their pick. They wasted a sufficient amount of time, though not an abundant amount of time. Drop downs over by the main lobby getting opened up. You can see there was an Electric Claw on the site drop, which is going to slow down any kind of security take, and that's likely going to shift the attack for BDS because Shaiko is dead now. But I'm curious to see if they're going to commit fully to the server take. It looks like they want to. Smoke, Kamikaze, a big job here, but it's going to get even more difficult as the drop down into server gets opened up.
He wasted a lot of time, which is very good for his team, but if he gets pinched, he's in a lot of trouble. Back hatch is opened up as well over towards Vault, so it could be a split push from BDS. That laser sight giving away the position of the smoke, but they know he's there. They might just simply decide to ignore him. Psycho with 1 onto a Lems. I don't know exactly where the sledge was, but Nip's coverage looks to be over towards Garage. And they might be wise to the fact that, well, BDS are looking more towards the Vault. Some confusion in play from Rafal as to where he wants to go. It looked like for a moment he was going to try to tussle with the smoke at the top of server stairs. The Zofia is there, and they are within striking distance of one another. Claymore as well around the server door will not allow the smoke to peek out. A drop through the elevator hatch is where the Hibana plays. Kamikaze doesn't happen to see the Claymore. A second kill from Pino. Bye-bye, Rafal. Advantage favoring Nip, but 20 seconds. Utility dumped into sight. The Zofia will drop, make some noise as she hits that barbed wire. Knows there's one in server, fires away, cannot land the shot, still wasting time, 5 seconds left. Diffuser will need to be picked back up. The Hibana gets the lesion from the back. Pino is gone, but Renshiro can't plant. Round number 1 will go to the Brazilian team of Nick.
So many hurdles for BDS to jump over in that round. The roam clear was actually pretty efficient for BDS. I gotta say, they had about 1:40 when the defenders decided to rotate back to the site. But after that roam clear, there was just such a slow take onto the site. And really, I think it mostly comes down to server. That hold by the server stairs wasted so much time. Props to Kamikaze for pulling that off. BDS running out of time, trying their best to find an avenue into the site. They say, all right, well, we, at this point, don't have a lot of choices, so we're just going to go for it. And actually, things look good for BDS. They're starting to pick up frags and steam. Ninjas of Pyjamas playing quite safe at the end there. But that's the thing. At the end, the round time just kind of disappeared. So a little bit too slow of an attack for BDS. They'll have to speed things up the next time they go for a basement assault. And hopefully for BDS, they won't lose their Maverick at the very beginning. That will be very helpful. Ninjas of Pyjamas going to have to rotate site. They're going to go to CEO for their next bomb site, which is a typical rotation on this map.
Yeah. Teller's Archives and Open Area are all possibilities, and Mira being unbanned means that Open Area might actually see a little bit more play than usual,
Who knows?
Especially with how powerful that Vigil, Mute, Mozzie, Castle setup can be. You are kind of handcuffing yourself to that defense, and that particular lineup, if you decide to run with those 4 operators plus a Mira, doesn't exactly give you a ton of plant denial outside of C4s, which of course Mira, Mozzie, as well as Mute can have, so it really depends on what the team wants to run. Now, Here's the other thing to remember about Bank. While Ninjas in Pyjamas have not played this map in the Six Invitational, it's not like they don't play this map at all. Right. There was a period of time where NIP was one of probably the strongest Bank teams in the world. They had a very strong roam. They were able to get under the skin of the attackers by being ever so elusive, engaging in long-range gunfights, because you cannot take away the aim from these players. And on that very first round, it did come down to a bit of gun skill, some trades. But NIP this entire tournament have been very strong, exceptionally so, and very coordinated when it comes to trades and refrags. If they can keep that up, then you'll take away one of the biggest advantages that BDS has, which is the fact that this, statistically, is their best map, technically tied with Consulate, but you can really flip a coin as to which one's better.
So actually I want to briefly talk about that. When I'm looking at this ban phase and I see what we've got here, really what comes to mind is BDS had better hope they win Bank. Because I'm looking at Border and Clubhouse next for BDS, and honestly, those are both really good maps for NIP. I mean, they're fine maps for BDS too, but really, really good maps for NIP. I mean, Border in particular, that's where Ninjas in Pyjamas beat DZ and G2 in dominating performances. Leadoff kill goes to BDS once again. It'll be a Lems picking it up this time, and Muzi, the victim. That's control well established for BDS, especially over by Square, but they're gonna have to worry about Psycho as they push in the hallway. Soda Hall is going to be the domain of that Doc in trading. He's actually getting aggressive, and he'll get Rafael on the balcony.
Oh my. Tracer's still being given away, Michael, as you now see Psycho go on the run. He's got every stim pistol. He doesn't exchange even a tiny bit of his HP in that engagement. Obviously very beneficial for NIP. And you take out Rafael as well. Now, the one thing that we are likely to see is every single hard breacher, all three of them, get played because the Thatcher ban means that there was no hard breach ban. This can make the bottom floor really difficult to attack. Bank is a fairly even map, so don't expect the defenders to have a stronger advantage. And while with every single hard breacher on the board, I would actually say that the attackers have a slightly easier time. Second kill in a row for Ninjas in Pyjamas, an explosive one. Shaiko has not really been able to do too much as he was toiling over by the CEO panels, and he'll die to a C4 tossed out by NIP.
Feels absolutely terrible when you're just not able to influence the round because you're dying to things outside of your control. That C4, that's rough for Shaiko, but a nice play there for NIP and Kamikaze in particular. Pino down below trying to C4 from underneath. He will actually get a Lems, who's trying to challenge that Archives roam. Upstairs, Julio going to fight RXWD and win that one. Ninjas in Pyjamas explosively ending that round. Kamikaze gets the kill, and if it hadn't been him, it would have been Pino from below. NIP, 2 in a row.
5 unanswered kills after losing the very first member in this round. Very impressive from NIP to counter back. You could see how difficult it was for NIP to deal with those CEO walls. The Maverick was not in position to be able to cut them open. They were too wary of what was going on below. Shaiko couldn't do much on that second CEO panel. He opened up the right panel by the windows, in large part because, well, when you're running a Kaid, there's only so much you can do with 2 Electric Claws. Well handled by BDS, but you don't get the clear passage you want. Ideally, that's a thermite that opens that wall. The exothermic charge gives you a much larger way into the site and also removes some of the ability for the defenders to play around the rest of that wall.
I actually like the way that NIP played that round because they set an Electric Claw on one wall, had the other one in Kaid's pocket, and they wanted to maintain just one of the 2 options when it comes to CEO walls, the closer one to Janitor. That's going to be better angles for the defense, and it baits the Habana or the Thermite into coming close to the other wall where Kamikaze gets the C4. So you called it right, Parker. It is going to be open area. I'm imagining there will be a Mira 6 pick, but they could go here without Mira. Either's an option. Looks like it's a full commit. Here we go. So it's going to be a Mira-less open area defense, but that's fine. I mean, you win 2 defenses, you've got to go somewhere else. It's either here or Tellers. Some people prefer open to Tellers, just flat out. You could defend both of them in much the same way, actually. The way you're going to extend it to Kitchen and open if you hold Tellers, you can do so, but in the reverse when you extend it to Tellers when holding Kitchen and open. That's exactly what NIP will be doing here. They'll also be roaming upstairs, of course. Kai, an essential operator, as he is going to slow down opening the drop-downs. Now, there are 3 that influence this site above. But with only 2 electric claws, Pino will have to be choosy. I'm sure he'll make the right decision. Looks like an aggressive peek out from Ninjas and Pyjamas. Possibly there, Pino faking out for Psycho to go for it. There it is, and he gets the headshot. The lens goes down, and Nip, for the first time actually, getting the leadoff kill.
They checked for drones too to see if somebody's going to stay on it. That's exactly what the Kaid was doing when he had that pistol in his hand. He wanted to make sure that there was nobody watching as the Vigil tracers went off, and indeed nobody was. That opening blow is so critical in this matchup. Now, it hasn't been very effective for BDS. Those first 2 rounds, they weren't able to do much with it after they got it. Round 1 being closer, second round, that was the only kill that BDS were able to get in the entirety of the 2.5 minutes that were played. This time, well, how much of an impact does a sledgeless take on open area have? Well, there's no soft destruction that's available now, with the exception of the Zofia and the Ash. It's not anywhere near as abundant as you get with that sledgehammer. Additionally, the frag grenades, of which you are often clearing utility so that they have smooth sailing, quite literally, into the site. Well, you can clear all that utility, but there's no real payoff. That's going to be a great place for Musi to thrive. Psycho will thrive above, though. A second kill for him. Rafal is removed as the Thermite just walks on past, not understanding that there's a Vigil there. And for a player like Rafal, you saw how he was able to dominate yesterday against Fnatic. He has some inconsistencies in matches, but playing on support, when he shows up, BDS's chances of winning are incredibly high.
Oh, nice shot there from Renshiro, reacting to the tracers that Pino put out. That needed to be a headshot for Pino, but not so. Renshiro eating a little bit of damage, but not too much, really. Musi is actually behind them right now, so this could be an easy flank for Nip if it's timed correctly, but it looks like it's going to be a plant near the drop down from RX. Here comes the denial, and Renshiro with great coverage. And push is failed from Ninjas and Pyjamas. The plant is successful for BDS, but in the post plant, it's 2 versus 3 as Renshiro has been downed. Now he can pick himself up, but he hasn't had an opportunity to just yet. There he goes, finally finished off deep by Printer. RXWD playing on the bomb, and he's gone. Shaiko now in a 1v3, he gets 1. Watching his flank, wary of the potential. There's another. It's all on Psycho in the 1v1 with Shaiko. It's gonna be close. The pre-fire's out, and Shaiko wins it! What a reaction! BDS, a big round, and their very first.
Just another day at the office for Shaiko, really. Extraordinary play. That man is in a 1vx, and he is almost never losing. 1v3, and he finds the final 3 kills. Now, it was also partially the fact that Nip peaked 1 by 1. If you're going to take out Shaiko, you're going to have to either engage him when there's more than 1 target in front of him, or do so with a frag grenade, a C4, etc. Trying to outduel him is a fool's errand, and you can ask lots of teams in EU how successful that goes, and, well, lots of teams in this tournament as well, from all regions, North America, APAC, and Latin America.
You know, BDS is a well-rounded team, I gotta say, but when Shaiko is popping off, that's when they're undefeatable. That's when it becomes exceptionally difficult to take anything away from them. Shaiko, well, he popped off that round. That should have been Ninjas and Pyjamas round, let's be honest. Poor denial on the plant, though. That was a large failure on Ninjas and Pyjamas' side, but the retake still could have gone their way. But like you said, Parker, called it perfectly. 3 1v1s, it's a lot easier for Shaiko than 1 3v1.
Yeah. Think about how that round started. Psycho, the run out, gets the kill on Olems in back alley. Second pick also comes from Psycho onto Rafal, as Rafal, the Thermite, does not check that there's somebody inside of Conference. It's a 5v3. Now, granted, it is open area. Open area can be tough to defend if teams don't have it set up correctly. And in fact, most of that round, the setup from Nip was great. But it wasn't the setup that was the issue, it was where they were playing. And they had totally vacated the site, because I think they thought that BDS was going to say, okay, we're down 2. We couldn't possibly just go for an execute. We need to find the remaining members, because surely they will clamp down on us. That was not the case, obviously. BDS said otherwise. They said, oh, There's nobody inside of the site. Let's just take it and hope that we're better aim-wise.
You know, that's the funny thing. I remember in the NIP DZ match, actually, it was Ninjas and Pyjamas who were so proficient at isolating plant spots and doing exactly what BDS just did. So BDS on a similar wavelength when it comes to how we're going to execute onto a site, go for that plant, hold it in the post. Curious little thing to note, there we have Ninjas in Pyjamas heavily invested in their server hold. As you can see, 4 people over there. Pino and Julio actually holding by the main stairs and the garage. So 1 rotated away from server, just 3 now. Psycho, Muzi, and Kamikaze over there. It's a very passive defense here from Ninjas in Pyjamas. And it actually hasn't worked too hard against them. There's a really interesting setup, actually. As you can see, all around Shaiko, all of these walls upstairs have been reinforced in small. Now, that to me suggests that they're trying to slow down as much as possible the rotations from the drop downs to the server take. And that's also part of why Ninjas in Pyjamas have invested 3 players into server. Because if you're slowing down the server take and you're also got a clash and 2 other players in server, well, I mean, it's really, really hard to take that. If you can't take server, you can't attack security. And I like this setup here from NIP. It's very different.
Hatch that gets opened up by Shaiko does so with him losing about 1/4 of his HP. Now, when you're playing against somebody like Shaiko, you want to take every advantage you can get, and knowing that he's now 1 bullet closer to death is actually a significant win. So, Hatch opened up though, there goes the logic bomb. Dokkaebi is in sight. RXWD was down alone with no support, punished by Julio. That's the opening pick for NIP. But the opening pick happens so late. 2 members of NIP on top of server stairs, one of which happens to be the Clash. Do you have utility to do anything to deal with Psycho? That is the question. Another vault take as the Jaeger of Muzi is spotted for just a moment by Alems. He's gonna hit the deck as there's another member. It's Shaiko that's dropped down. Take out Shaiko here, and with it, the likelihood of the round is huge. It's a down. Is it completed? Yes. Julio has his teammates back. BDS will now barnstorm into Vault, but an excellent rotation from the Clash. Pitter-patter goes the sound of the 5.56. Shaiko takes out Psycho to the head. 2 from NIP, but once again, it's a 1v3. Shaiko going up against too many members of NIP. If they fight for trades, it's almost no chance. 1 kill, but the timer's out. That's it. NIP will take another defense. That'll be it for lockers downstairs. Both defenses from NIP successful. They will not be able to go back. At worst, they will now tie the first half.
Big win there for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Great job on the delay. I actually really appreciate that strategy there from Ninjas in Pyjamas. It, again, quite different. I've not seen one exactly like that before. The way that they did things was they actually reinforced by archives, by small office above, cutting off that rotation between the drop downs and the server, which is commonly established by the attacking team. Easily done, right? Because just a little bit of soft destruction. Now, if you want to do that, you have to divert your hard destruction. And on this map, that is, well, a heavy investment. So time wasted. Plus, NIP are bringing a Clash of all things, which is the premier time-wasting operator on defense, or one of them at the very least. And then you're also holding on to server. If you hold on to server, the enemy can't attack security, which means BDS were forced to go for a take on the other drop downs, the ones by the main lobby, in the elevator, and by tellers. And that take was read by Ninjas in Pyjamas. Or I guess I shouldn't say read. It was predicted, expected, because it was, well, basically forced by the setup that NIP brought in the first place. You really got to appreciate when a team is so good at funneling their opponents. BDS got funneled, and yes, Shaiko looked like a whirlwind tearing apart Ninjas in Pyjamas. He had a really good round. He's putting up those kills. But at that point, it was already too late. As we said before, BDS a little bit slow on that take. And again, the reason that they're slow is, again, the forced funneling and the diversion of the strategy.
The way that Nip has been playing has been far more complex than I think a lot of people are giving them credit for.
Yeah, that is the main observation that I noticed. People keep saying that, oh, Ninjas in Pyjamas, they're a fragging team, they rely on their skill, but I gotta be honest, Nip to me at this event have seemed like one of the premier strategic squads, period. And it's intimidating because they pair it with their fragging potential.
I mean, that full upstairs reinforcement, the small office, with the hatch that Shaiko was dealing with, that we saw, all the reinforcements were used up there. What other teams have we seen pull that specific strategy off at this event?
I have not seen anyone else do that. And again, that whole strat, that whole thing was well thought out, and it worked. The whole plan for Nip was to funnel BDS towards the drop-downs by Tellus. They did that. BDS went to those drop-downs. The attack was too slow, and Nip won the round on time. You could see even in their play, even in Ninjas in Pyjamas play, they were playing very passively, waiting it out because they knew that was the strat.
As a concussion blasted up the stairs. Usually somebody follows it up a bit more aggressively. Shaiko was ready for it. Julia was not ready for Shaiko at all. Down goes Kamikaze. It's just trading back and forth. BDS holding the advantage through this, though. They're inside of the site. They've very quickly taken control, or at least knocking on the door of it. Musi waiting patiently. We can see the silhouettes of where they are. One for Musi onto Shaiko. These are two Titans colliding. A flash will go off, Shaiko a kill of his own. So BDS not understanding where they're getting taken from. It's all Musi in a 1v2. Once again, Nip have been good at trading back and forth. In this round, it's been BDS with the upper hand. If Musi overextends, well, there's a member of BDS on the stairs, and that sounds like Rafael. That's a dead body, pre-firing onto the thermite, but no, a gorgeous shot from Rafael, I'm sure of it, onto the head of Musi. And that CEO defense, it crumbles in a hurry for Nip.
Okay, so that was just an aggressive play from BDS. They just went straight in through the main lobby, straight up those main stairs, and into the site. Started fragging out, and well then, yeah, BDS is the ones who come out on top. Shaiko, again, a large influence in that round, getting the initial entry here, as you can see, downstairs. Now, this has looked like a very back and forth match, so thus far, it's looking like BDS's prediction was on the spot. A reminder, this is BDS's map pick. They wanted to come to Bank, and here we are. Clearly, Ninjas in Pyjamas have thought out how they want to set up here, so we're seeing a very even competition as we had hoped for, at least so far. Ninjas in Pyjamas will go to open area again. So in this first half, we have seen a double of the same 3 sites. And there's no change in the rotation order for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They keep moving. So very predictable, but also that's not the end of the world. It can be that it actually catches an enemy off guard. Maybe BDS expects that CEO hold. That last round, being down primarily just to the aggressive play in through the main lobby, there's not a whole lot to say about it. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they're all the angles they set up in the beginning of the round to go for aggressive peeks onto the top of parking or spawn peeks out the north windows, any of that, nothing came of it because BDS were so focused on one objective and Ninjas in Pyjamas were a little too spread out, a little too late to react.
Other thing to note is how the operator bans are not really handicapping BDS. Yes, there is a Thatcher ban, but you need to know that like a team such as BDS is going to run every hard breacher. Shaiko on attack, if he's not playing Ashe, well, Hibana tends to be his most played operator. Maverick is also up there. So with him and Rafael rocking hard breach duties, that puts somebody like RXWD in a spot where he can very easily support. I like that BDS have swapped off of that third hard breach though, and instead are going with the Dokkaebi. Now, not exactly sure how effective the Dokkaebi as an operator has been, but clearly there was some extra utility that was needed from BDS that wasn't just hard destruction. It's almost like they had too much of it and would have benefited from running another operator. Obviously, Dokkaebi has been the one that they want. She comes with smokes or frags. In this case, she's also able to pin down the roam that happens from Nip and has been very frustrating for BDS to deal with.
Those castle barricades are actually going to give ease of mind to Renshiro. He's not expecting anyone to peek him from the flag doorway where Shaiko is currently. He could obviously be peeked, but the castle does give you that, like, oh yeah, I don't need to worry about it. We don't know if it's prepped or 11 hit. We do know it's there. BDS, though, focusing primarily on top floor control. Pay attention to where Renshiro places his lifelines, because as you can see, he does not have breaching charges. Just one and done. That means that that was the very specific location he wanted to use soft destruction. You do have a Lems with the sledge. He's going to be opening up everything else. Most of the rotations cut off. The anchor's forced off. C4 missing, so this is a solid win here. Half of the round expired, and top floor control with holes already open. That is a big W for BDS. There is still the open area roam to consider. Or not open area roam, but the anchors still.
It's a bottom floor push from Nip as they've fallen off.
It's an interesting rotate.
This is fascinating, and they know that there's somebody there. There's a mark, but the jig is up. There's the first set of logic bombs, and with a map as big as Bank, well, it's going to ring out across the entirety of that first floor. Marks for BDS as their drones are clearly more than effective. Psycho gets down through the wall. Pino had taken damage earlier, but there's Musi. He comes in and clobbers Renshiro. Knows there's one up on Skylight Stairwell. He can't do enough damage. He'll play around it. Just barely survives the push from RXWD. Frag grenade goes down. Musi is now far enough off. This is an open area defense, and none of this action is happening in that direction. SMG-12 out, Psycho gone. He'd been picked back up. He'd been downed earlier on, so there wasn't that much damage that needed to be done. Final 30 seconds for BDS to push in. It is still a 4v4 with Nip having opened up the scoring on this round. There's one for Julio, another for Musi. Is Shaiko still alive? The answer is no. Is the round still doable for BDS? It looks like the answer is going to be no, unless RXWD can clutch. 6 seconds, he doesn't hold the diffuser, and he doesn't hold a single point of HP either. Ninjas in Pyjamas will take their defense on Bank 4-2. These teams will swap sides.
Solid defense there from Ninjas in Pyjamas. I like the way they set up on open area the second time. You could see they were expecting a rotation. I just want to give some credit to any Brazilian fans in the crowd that might have flown all the way up to Canada just to attend this event and cheer for Ninjas in Pyjamas. That's some impressive stuff.
15 seconds to go.
Do we know if there are, by the way?
No, but one can assume.
You know, I will say this. I am so impressed with the amount of Brits that are here.
Oh, yeah?
The amount of people that are here from the UK, and I mean also Ireland, but the other Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's quite a few.
I'm very surprised. Maybe they just came for Dez and Ace. That could be why.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, they're not here, unfortunately. I mean, I think
they're in the crowd.
They're in the crowd.
They're in the crowd somewhere.
Are you? Where are you? They're somewhere around here.
They're somewhere. It's a big place.
There's so many people now screaming, and I can't tell who. But no.
One at a time. Not all of you at once.
So this match, this half, has been quite interesting. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they've put themselves up 4-2, but that is off of their really well-established defenses. I like the way that Nip played more passive than I'm used to seeing. And I'm sure a lot of you noticed that as well. You could tell that Nip were playing for time. They really wanted BDS to spend too much time clearing out roamers or just going through the motions with the attack. Even when Nip was roaming on the basement. You know, what I always like to say, standard, you're gonna fall back at about half the round. Minute 30, that is when you will fall back on a basement defense, typically, on a map like this. Ninjas in Pyjamas were falling back at a minute 40. Because they wanted to make sure when the team fight came, they had man advantage. They wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be too much risk because they knew BDS would be slower on the attack. Nip were right from the majority of rounds, and as I'm sure you expect me to be getting to, one of the rounds that BDS actually won was the round that they were exceptionally fast on, and that was probably why. I'm sure they caught Nip off guard. Now going on to attack, Ninjas in Pyjamas have historically been very proficient with their attack rounds, though we don't have much experience when it comes to this map, as, again, at the beginning we stated this, say it again, Nip haven't played this map in a good long while.
Yep. Now, whether they've been deliberately saving things, which does happen, a team can forego a map specifically to surprise their opponent, because, I mean, if you're BDS, you are counter-stratting Nip playing on Bank from over a month ago at this point.
Yeah.
If not longer.
If at all.
So yeah, you might not even bother. I mean, you can look at the way that they played in Latin America Pro League and actually go through, try to determine what we want to do. But I would imagine that NiP has totally changed it up.
I mean, they haven't played Bank since, well, for a long time. In the last few months, they just haven't played it. So basically, any kind of info you're going to have just doesn't count anymore.
Now, Shaiko with a kill on Napino, and more falling with Shaiko still there. Nobody's been cleared out of server. How do you not do that? NiP is just going to wait. Shaiko's inside of A site. There's two, though. Alems and RXWD get punished. Shaiko now 1 HP. He's also gone. Musi is just hitting his shots. Renshiro is so far back with Rafal above. Does Rafal have that hatch opened up? That's the question. Yes, he does. So he can drop if he wants. Somebody will need to pick up that diffuser as it's a 2v2. HP very much favoring BDS, as Psycho is 1 bullet away from death and Musi is 2. With Renshiro holding on to that slug shotgun of the TCSG, he's capable of dropping both of them in a single shot, depending on how far away Musi is, of course.
Psycho is going to be the linchpin for Ninjas in Pyjamas. He's doing so much work just by existing here. Rafal seems to know he's there, though, and as you can see, the HP on Psycho, very low. Musi goes for a plant. Psycho controlling both of the defenders. There is no denial currently. And it's successful. Musi in the post plant now. It's really all on Zofia, but there you go. Psycho from above gets 1. The patience pays off, and now Rafal will have to find 2 to win the round. He's only got 35 seconds to do so. Can't seem to find the player in server. Legion Trap goes out, but that'll likely be shot. Going for the retake. He expects it to be stairs. At this point, all the wrong guesses are going to get to Rafal, and he's going to lose it off time. There's only so little that he's got to work with. It's going to be an attempted stick, it seems. 2 Legion Traps on the tunnel. That might slow it down, but no. Ninjas in Pyjamas get the round. Musi, an excellent clutch in the post.
Almost perfectly played by Ninjas in Pyjamas. And your heart has to break for Rafal in that position.
Yeah.
He, like you said, every single guess was wrong. Every single avenue that he checked was wrong. That is really tough. This momentum will continue moving in the direction of Ninjas in Pyjamas, who have now won their first attack on the 1 bomb site that they did not drop. NiP have actually not lost this site, whether attack or defense.
Parker, did you see that? The alibis?
I did.
That was pretty awesome. And they were all wearing the same skin.
Well, it was only one alibi. That was just their holograms, right?
Probably.
Probably.
Wait, where is the real alibi then? Because, oh no, we're gonna have to keep looking. Now, big round there for Ninjas in Pyjamas because it sets the momentum on the second half after already winning that first. So NiP on BDS's map are looking exceptionally strong. I gotta say, that execution, as you said, Parker, and I completely agree, was flawlessly handled after the initial fights came out. Now, the biggest thing to me that stands out by the way that NiP played that round is that they were trying to play passively even on attack. They expected the aggression that BDS brought out, and it paid off that NiP were ready for it. We saw BDS set up early with 2 kills, and at that point, most teams, when they lose 2 players like that, it's over. It's done.
Yeah.
But what happened? Well, Ninjas in Pyjamas, they didn't get aggressive to try and refrag. They knew that BDS would keep pushing the momentum, keep pushing the tempo, say, all right, we got 2 kills, let's get them all. BDS said that. Ninjas in Pyjamas were ready, guns up, fights 1, and then suddenly it's a 2-on-2. And that's a really good read from NiP.
Here's the thing with a team like BDS. A lot of people don't, I think, give enough of a look at their opponents. And they have too simplistic a take where they say, yeah, Shaiko's going to carry the load, but when everybody on BDS shows up, the team does well. The problem is that against the best teams in this tournament, the other players on BDS don't look as strong. Against a team like NiP, when everybody is firing on all cylinders, you see players that can take over games against possibly weaker teams and weaker opponents start to fade away. And you can see the scores on the left-hand side of the screen. Shaiko is the only person that is winning his engagements right now. In fact, even though Renshiro is at least a flat 5-5, most of his engagements have come in multi-kill rounds. He hasn't been as impactful. Alems has totally disappeared, where he is able to thrive against other teams that are not hitting their shots and not executing well. This seems to be the issue with BDS. The only player on this team through 7 rounds that has been able to keep pace with NiP is Shaiko.
And, you know, it's weird to say, but that's actually a super old formula for a team in Siege. Lead-off kill for Shaiko, though, so oldie but a goodie, I suppose.
Speak of the devil.
He's got 10 kills. And he's got a 2.0 KD so far in this map. Here's the rush from Psycho. Gets hit by a Grzmot, but the flash is in, and Pino collects the kill. There's another at the bottom of server, though, and that TCSG-12 hits hard. But there's a refrag. Muzi from the tunnel. Perfect timing. Ninjas in Pyjamas do not let anyone get away from that server engagement. Fully capitalize upon their push.
So the two trades that happened in a 3v3 situation, last time they were inside of the bomb site. Now they happen in server. No Thatcher on the board, so, well, you've had a Maverick, no longer, so that hatch is going to stay closed unless you somehow manage to get rid of the Electric Claw. Now, BDS must know this. Shaiko took down Julio. He likely called that it was a Maverick, so where does Nip go? To the back. So it's going to be a vault take for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They still have those 2 exothermic charges. They have not been running the 3 hard breachers, so those are the 2 hatches that you need to be concerned with. Muzi broke in double digits as well to join Shaiko, and he will sit inside of server. He can strike as BDS's attention turns to the back take from the rest of NIP.
I just got to be impressed by the way that BDS are setting up this defense and the way that Ninjas in Pyjamas are setting up the attack, because as you can see, 2 people coming from the back, but then somebody who's coming from the back, that's Pino, droning in Muzi from the front over by server. You just don't get executions that happen with so little manpower that proficient often.
Still droning through server, and the smoke canister that gets tossed out from Rafal suggests that BDS might not actually know that it's going to be a vault take. But no, now they've turned their attention elsewhere. On the floor is Shaiko watching for the drop. There's some ankles for him. He takes out Pino. Can he win the next engagement? No, he doesn't. Kamikaze's in. It's a 2v1, and it's a 2v0 match point on BDS's map for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Absolutely massive round there for Nip. And, you know, this is the really scary thing now, because, and I said it at the beginning of the map, if BDS doesn't take bank, then you gotta be really scared if you're BDS. I mean, these next maps just have looked so good for Nip through this tournament. I mean, again, 7-3 over Dark Zero on border, 7-2 over G2 on border. That's not just a win, that's a dominant win, and that's your map number 2. So if Nip take this, then what are you really doing if you're BDS? I mean, it's scary.
You're losing.
Well, okay, yes. That is what It looks like.
If you're not winning.
You should see his face right now.
If you're not winning, you're losing.
Every time.
Well, if you're not winning, what are you doing?
Right.
I think that's pretty explanatory.
Yeah.
Self-explanatory, Michael.
It's going to be a Teller's defense here for BDS, so that's the first time we've actually seen that.
My eyes deceive me, but has BDS not taken a timeout yet? Now, obviously, BDS does not have a coach. Bob is not necessarily a coach either. He's more of a player manager. I don't know how much of the day-to-day strategy he does. I don't believe it's very much. I think most of that falls on the shoulders of the team. NIP lost their coach just a couple weeks ago, if you recall. Arthur was coaching the team, and he's now headed over to coach Nora Rengo, as he will be living closer to his family. So he has not been available, though I would be hard-pressed to think that this success from NIP isn't somewhat thanks to him. There are strategies that they are employing that I have no doubt he helped either found or, I guess, impress upon the team to follow. So maybe I'm wrong.
Obviously we don't know. We can only assume. But what we do know, 100%, is that NIP have been giving us great setups on the defense and excellent executions. On the side of BDS, I'm seeing a lot of standard BDS play here. That's the thing that really stands out to me, because they're going for a style of play that they've always been good at, which is, okay, we take the momentum, we press the momentum, we win the round. And it's actually costing them so hard against NIP because NIP read it. I mean, they are clearly very prepared for BDS. There must have been a lot of VOD review because Ninjas in Pyjamas are countering their opponent very well.
This has been the story for almost every single NIP matchup.
Yeah, because Parker, we've casted most, if not all.
Every single one of NIP's matches except for their first one.
So we've done all but one.
Yes,
and they've played a lot.
We have casted NIP. This is our 5th time casting them.
And because they went through the loser bracket, that means we've done it a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. So and yeah, the thing that I keep noticing is the thing that you just mentioned. It's that NIP are just so well-rounded in their strategy.
Same thing happened at the Paris Major, by the way, except we casted every single NIP match at the Paris Major.
Really?
Yes. I don't know what it is with this team, Michael.
Was that like a year and a half ago, though, or something like that?
We casted them back in Sao Paulo. There's just, for you and I, there is an extraordinary amount of history with us and this team.
Yeah.
So,
they didn't.
Maybe we're their good luck charm. Oh.
They didn't do as well, though, then.
No.
So that's good information being gathered here from Lems. He's going to be relaying that to his team.
It's a beautiful skybox.
Yeah, it is. I
think that's a drone. I think it's when they changed to a drone that's either been destroyed or out of the map.
Yeah, I'm convinced that's a spectator bug, though. I don't think that's actually anything to do with the actual play.
Now, we'd already seen a lot of destruction onto the site that was caused by BDS. How kind is it for NIP to be able to give them a helping hand? C4 from RXWD, well, he loses some HP. The C4 does no damage. You can see on the right alignment of your screen, nobody took any damage from NIP.
Slow peek here from Psycho into sight. He sees an opponent, but loses the fight. Renshiro with the one tap. Oh, I can't wait to see that one in replay. Psycho adds to it as Muzi goes down. It's all BDS. Kamikaze and Pino, the only one standing to take this round. And oh, bad timing for Kamikaze, but the second chance. The shot landed. And now, NIP are a little bit better in this position. Actually, wrong way looking there, but Shaiko wins it anyway as he adjusts to the footsteps. You know, we'll have to find 4. That's a really tall task with only 30 seconds. Position given away, it just doesn't seem likely for NIP. They're gonna have to reset after a round like that and think about what they want to do next. I'm sure Pino's probably gonna wait out these next 20 seconds and just give his team some time to think.
Nobody's really talking right now on the side of NIP. Nope, there goes Psycho. He's communicating, but kill from Pino on RXWD, but there's less than 10 seconds left, so this round is over. And now it's really over. Renshiro got kill number 1. He'll get kill number 5 for his team. BDS can start to mount a comeback, but they will have to do so by winning all 3 of the remaining rounds on defense. That is going to be their biggest challenge.
Well, that round, the clear upstairs, the clear in the main lobby, the clear all over the place for Ninjas and Pyjamas fell flat. BDS winning their gunfights. And I'll be honest, that has been the only way that they've managed to put rounds on the board. BDS going for aggressive plays, identifying their targets, engaging in the fight, and just winning, period. And that's a little bit more shallow than what we're seeing from Ninjas and Pyjamas, but it's a totally reasonable way to take wins. BDS is going to have to really impress us, though, as it is something that Ninjas and Pyjamas are plenty capable, as they have proven in countering. They can go head-to-head with a team like BDS and win those gunfights. Not that last round, though. Well played to BDS for that. Shaiko in particular, as we've been talking about him throughout the match, he needs more notice, of course. 13 kills, 2 big ones in that last round, as well as the lead-off in many of these rounds. He's been a big player for BDS.
I think the biggest issue with BDS has just been Alem's play in particular, and how he's not able to be as impactful as he has been in previous rounds. Alem's, when he shows up, the team almost never loses, or at least if they do, it's very closely fought maps. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just Alem's not being able to counter this style of play from NIP. I don't know if it's Alem's missing his shots. You never want to point your finger specifically at a player for underperforming, but in this particular case, you'd have to imagine that if Alem's was contributing a little bit more, because even his utility play has not been that strong, that BDS would have a much closer match on their hands. He's going to be playing Legion this time, so his utility play is going to be quite good. I believe it was, who was it?
Oh, what is this?
Oh, he's caught though.
That's so aggressive, and there's 2 people for BDS to stop it. It's going to be Shaiko on the Jaeger trying to challenge by the SUV. That's 3 people for BDS.
Psycho's taken some damage, tons of gunfire as it's going to be a brawl inside of the garage. a heist here on Bank, and if Nip can steal this away, well, that will be very challenging for BDS to be able to come back from. That Evil Eye cam is still up. Psycho's going to take point. This is a beautiful play from Shaiko. He gives his spot away, though, as those bullets will hit the wall. The tracers will reveal his positioning. A clash now moves to the forefront as RXWD. Primary IGL for this team is going to continuously call. There are, however, stuns. If you coordinate this well, you might be able to knock the clash out and get that opening pick you so desire. Ooh. All while this is happening, Shaiko has relocated. Julio is a very easy target if that hatch breaks. And it's about to go. There it goes. If Julio pops up, Shaiko is there waiting. Will Julio see it? Just narrowly missing out. A little bit of damage done to Shaiko as he scoots off.
Muzi gets Renshiro on the cross there. The clash has pushed up to the SUV, but that actually might be a really bad play, as there's no one to support and 2 attackers coming to kill that clash. Nate goes in, and it might kill the teammate. Just narrowly doesn't. Muzi gets away with his life, but a lot of HP lost. RXWD continuously holding this. That clash has been such a potent force for BDS through this round. It's not the only one. Shaiko is going to have to put up a big performance here as he holds the main stairs and the garage in tandem with his teammate.
No stuns left to knock around that clash, so you're up a certain creek with no paddle, if we can decide to use that, but you know, not saying anything inappropriate on a broadcast.
Yeah.
Nip will move back towards Vault as the Buck will head towards the main lobby, and it's a total scramble. That garage take, unsuccessful. They did not use their utility well enough to take out RXWD's clash. So 30 seconds. Nip had a big advantage. They still do. They'd taken out Renshiro earlier on. Frag grenade goes down. Shaiko just narrowly evades it. He will once again re-engage over in the inside of elevator. Waiting to drop down into the plume of smoke is Psycho. He'll flash into Vault. 2 flashes into Vault, another smoke, but he's going to have to drop. He's very vulnerable. Down goes Shaiko to Kamikaze. This is huge. Clash will meet up with the Hibana and now the Thermite as well. They need to coordinate and work effectively, but there's only 1 second left. Plant going down, and no! He falls off at the last second. BDS plays that well. Nip stalls out, and it's a second round in a row for the French squad.
Such a strange image at the end of that round. There were at least 5, maybe 6 people standing in lockers, just hanging out, having a good time. And Ninjas in Pyjamas, the ones feeling really unwelcome at that party, as they didn't manage to get the round despite how close that came. And why? You may ask. Well, I'll tell you why. Clash. Clash. RX doing a great job on Clash, holding up the attack through Garage. And if it weren't for him, that would have been a really easy round for Ninjas in Pyjamas. The collapse coming from Garage, the take above on the drop downs, everything was set up perfectly. Even Shaiko died without actually having an impact, which is massive, as we have already explained. So that looked like Ninjas in Pyjamas were going to be able to take it, but they just didn't have time because a certain operator with a shield managed to delay for at least a minute by themselves. So well done again to RXWD.
Attackers need to locate.
Now BDS still 1 away from losing this. I'll go to open area. This is going to be a difficult defense, that's for sure.
Surprised that Nip hasn't called a tactical timeout yet.
I know, right? Like maybe just now would be a good time.
You need to regain some of that level of composure. That round really should have been Nip's with the way they were playing it. It was won solely by the Clash, and Nip's inability to take the Clash out of action earlier on, mismanaging that utility.
Yeah.
There's no CEO defense on the docket, as it's an open area hold for the defense of BDS. The crowd here very much favoring Ninjas in Pyjamas. Vamos Ninjas chants breaking out sporadically throughout the course of this matchup.
Very, very vocal fans, super dedicated. They're always on the side that Ninjas in Pyjamas are sitting on, right next to them, so they can hear them loud and clear.
Yeah. This is also BDS's map. It has not been played at the Six Invitational by Nip, if you are just tuning in and are curious as to the scoreline. Even though the ticker at the top does
occasionally
happen to tell you whose map it is.
Yeah, it flips back and forth.
Yeah.
I think it's really relevant, though. Again, this is the third time we'll be mentioning it, but I think it's really important to note how bad this map ban phase looks, in my opinion, for BDS. So again, if BDS cannot take this map, I really don't know how well they're going to be able to manage in the next two.
Well, what opens up next? Tellers. Lockers is done, it's out. If BDS are successful here on open area, then you can go up to CEO, or you can go to Teller's Archives on that main floor. Those are the only two sites you have. In fact, this might be a deliberate choice if BDS feel particularly comfortable allowing CEO to be their last site, if it happens to be a site that they have a very strong win percentage on. But obviously that's a major gamble, because if you lose open area, then you don't get a chance to go to the site you want to go to.
Shiro once again challenging this long angle. Now, he actually managed to get a kill on the angle last time. This time, we'll see if that's the same. There's a hole opened up.
Disgusting work.
It is, yes. He's doing a great job with on that play.
This is where the monitor is a centimeter away from your face, and you're playing 4x3.
Yeah.
You're just
right in there.
Is that a person?
You know, it's a big sacrifice to commit so fully to that style of play, but for the long term, for your health. But you know, it's
sacrifice worth the prize pool here for $3 million.
Oh, certainly, yes. That is kind of the point, isn't it?
Buy a new set of eyes with that, right?
I believe you can, Parker. Now, in this round, nothing's really happened for NiP. Again, they're very slow on their attacks, and I think this is a read for BDS. I think they're trying to play. Or outplay, rather, BDS and trying to count on the aggression, but BDS is playing very slow on the
Shaiko has taken a ton of damage too, Michael.
Oh yeah, look at that.
So I don't know exactly what happened with him, though Shaiko has played on the main stairs. Oh, you see the smoke. This is as free as the day you were born, or as young as the day you were born, whatever.
Is the day as long?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 20 seconds left, Shaiko's repositioned, he'll watch the hatches. There's the buck above him, RXWD. He was great last round on the Clash, this time around, holding the Alda. He's good as well. Down goes Rafal, but Shaiko's in on the action. RXWD there too. BDS has full advantage, and it will continue to go as it's Julio in a 1v4, 1v3, lots of damage, but that's it. He's not going to get anything. BDS, 3 rounds in a row. The pacing of these rounds so difficult to put into words. NiP needs something desperately, because right now we are just as confused as they are.
So, just as much as Ninjas in Pyjamas managed to read the aggression on BDS's defense early in the second half, BDS has figured out that NiP are very slow on the attack. So it's a counterpunch by BDS, and one that came at the perfect moment, as now we are 1 round away from overtime. No amount of aggression at all from BDS in that round, really. They just set up and waited. And it worked great because Ninjas in Pyjamas allowed the round to come to the final seconds before executing. That's just not enough time. We've seen this time and time again with NiP. Last round, it was forced. This round, by the Clash. This round, not so much. It was just NiP being slow. And again, I get the slowness because they're expecting BDS to get aggro. They're expecting to have to shut down those pushes from the defense. But again, the read from BDS. It's such a back and forth.
These teams are absolutely pummeling each other. And we will actually see a 4th bomb site, Michael.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we're going to see not only all the bomb sites, but a map that goes all the way to the last round of regulation at the very least. A lot of hope that you're going to get matches like that.
Yeah. Yesterday, we didn't exactly have the most evenly balanced matchups, if we can put it that way.
That's light, yeah.
Was it you that said the content creator show match was the most competitive match that we saw?
Well, not most competitive necessarily, just the closest.
Most competitive.
I didn't say that.
That's what you said.
No, what? You can go check it. Okay.
I heard you.
Parker is leading you astray. Don't listen to him.
1 round for NiP to be able to pull off a victory before overtime is required on a map like Bank. On attack, BDS took 2 rounds, NiP has taken 2 rounds. Defenders do seem to have an advantage, and 4-2 is where you expect a lot of defender-sided maps, though I wouldn't say that Bank is one of those, especially in terms of the win percentage for attackers and defenders. Bank is not Bank is just not always a map that the defenders always win as well. It tends to be one of the more balanced maps.
Yeah, it actually strangely is more balanced, and that's kind of weird because at the beginning of Bank's lifespan, it was exceptionally defender-sided. And it has seen a shift as the meta continues to evolve. Now that's what makes this such an exciting match, as we've seen actually a pretty even back and forth. Definitely a little bit of a favor for the defense. Only 4 attacking rounds won, but that's actually pretty good for the attacking side, I'd say.
Renshiro is so aggressive here on the double windows. He tossed out a Nitro cell and then was waiting for somebody from NiP to swing on by in hopes of that Vector taking them out and removing them from Repel in the most violent of ways. NiP are not really doing too much outside of this window play. The question is, will somebody from BDS rotate down towards the main lobby? Because both members of NiP, unless there's somebody dedicated to watching the main lobby, both members of NiP that are on Repel are very vulnerable.
Shaiko gets the lead-off kill, but the plant is going down and nobody's there to stop it. Kamikaze's gonna get this one easy. There's still North Repel, and it's racking up kills for Ninjas in Pyjamas. RXWD doing his best from Janitor to try and get some kills, try and make this a little bit easier on the retake, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. As you can see, Ninjas in Pyjamas playing very passive in the post. There's a run out and a C4. The C4 gets 1, and the run out gets 2! It's all on Psycho! RX sticking it, he's gonna have to rush! It'll be very, very close, and it's defense BDS! Taking it in the final second.
Just a second too late. Not even a second. Well played, so well played by BDS to shut down Ninjas in Pyjamas after what was an incredible read into the site and a rush plant with Kamikaze getting away with murder. And just like that, it seems like the crowd has changed its mind as to who they want to support.
I don't know, there's some loud booing from the Ninjas in Pyjamas side. That was a very close round, and one that could have easily gone the way of Ninjas in Pyjamas. But that double run out on the north side, salvaging it for BDS and the stick. Perfect timing for RX to go for that. It'll be defense first for BDS in overtime. And a reminder, for those of you who do not know, if you pick the map, you pick where you start in OT.
There goes the mouse.
Yeah, you
frustration wearing on the faces of all of these players. As you could see when we just showed the replay, it was a fraction of a second as the shots from Dokkaebi just narrowly missed.
So close. Just a little bit more speed there. I mean, imagine he had an actual pistol instead of a SMG sidearm.
That is true.
And you can run faster. That Dokkaebi would have made it. But no. Situation you can't really avoid, I guess, there as you picked Doke. But there you go.
BDS will be able to defend twice here, Michael.
Large advantage. It's in this matchup.
Absolutely massive.
This has been a defender-sided match for sure. 2 attack wins for each team, 4 total, like I said earlier. Bottom floor to start things off. BDS have a good record here. Well, okay, they have an acceptable record here. Actually, it's their worst site. I don't know why I said good record. It's the only site that NiP have won an attack on. They won it twice, the first 2 rounds of the second half.
This was a 6-2 game for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Yeah, I mean, a blown lead for sure. But at the same time also, some really big plays from BDS and some smart strategy set up too. Again, I really like the use of Clash from BDS. On the basement especially, it definitely turned the tides, I guess.
It sure seemed that way.
Oh, yeah.
BDS was able to muscle out an 8-7 victory over Reciprocity on Bank. That was the closest that they got here. Their other 2 victories were both 7-2s. So BDS knows a thing or two about being able to weather a storm and battle back against a team that is quite proficient on this map. I still believe, with how close this has been, that NIP objectively won that ban phase.
Yeah.
Especially with how strong this has been. Border will obviously tell a greater tale. How do these teams mentally reset, regardless of which team prevails on Bank? How do they manage to just bounce back against what could be a really tough loss? Because BDS went from, all right, Bank's done, this is obviously detrimental, but we can move on, to now building up all this momentum, and if BDS doesn't persevere here, well, that's a heartbreaker. Much worse, though, for Ninjas in Pyjamas if they squander a 6-2 lead and lose it, because these 4 rounds in a row for BDS have burst NIP's bubble. NIP have already taken their timeout, so there's no chance for them to be able to settle down yet again. I don't believe BDS has taken a timeout, at least not one that we've been able to catch.
Neither team has taken a timeout thus far.
NIP took one.
Did they?
He did.
Did I miss that whole timeout?
You must have.
I must have. Well, incorrect, I guess, on my part, and thank you for the correction, Parker. But it hasn't actually borne any fruit yet. We've got a hold in server and bad timing from Pino. He was holding it, and then he wasn't, and he re-peeks.
That is a stupid mistake for Pino to make. At least he's got Kamikaze there, but for these 2 younger players that don't have an abundance of competitive experience, Pino and Musi cannot let nerves get to them and cannot let these emotions get to them either.
Yeah.
As that is not a mistake that you usually see Pino make.
Yeah.
Especially when he's priming that frag grenade. The defense down below that was so successful all hinged on the play of the Clash. That's going to be RXWD yet again to just try and hold back the members of NIPS. They've opened up both of these server panels. Psycho in, down goes Shaiko. It's a plant at the bomb site, and the Clash is there to tase away. Lots of damage done. RXWD dancing around it. They both fall. It's a 2v2, but with 6 seconds left, you gotta do something if you're Ninjas in Pyjamas. Kamikaze down. Julio with 1 second. Won't be able to do it. 5 rounds in a row for BDS.
A massive hold there for BDS. It could have gone either way, but again, the Clash, such a potent force. A clear favorite coming through here in overtime. BDS riding the wave. Ninjas in Pyjamas, they must be getting frustrated.
This Clash play is the single reason on both of those takes from NIP that they stalled out so hard. A big part of that was Pino dying early, wasn't able to use his frag grenades, could not protect Kamikaze. Kamikaze has to go in, which necessitates the relocation of the Zofia into server, and then to follow up on Kamikaze. RXWD, when he got his shield batted away, literally just spun as quickly as he could with the sensitivity of his mouse, so that when they were shooting, bullets would just be bouncing off of the shield. Well played from him. So obviously when you're going up against an operator like that, you have to be prepared for those kinds of things.
It's been such a great map from both teams, but over the last few rounds, over the last 5 rounds in fact, NIP have looked absolutely devastated, and I really gotta admire NIP's attempt in that last round. They came very close. The execution was well executed in that they had plenty of manpower when going for that site rush, and honestly, I thought, wow, look at the abundance of players from Ninjas in Pyjamas in security. They've got a great shot at taking this just in the gunfights alone, but again, and you said it, I said it, it's that Clash. It presented such a wall to NIP, and it took up so much time, so much focus. Then the smoke comes in, perfectly placed gas canisters. I mean, it doesn't get worse than that if you're Ninjas in Pyjamas. And, well, I mean, props to BDS on that defense. Let's see if we actually get to the final round of overtime. So we might not. Ninjas in Pyjamas will have to break a pretty long streak if they want to bring us to round number 15.
And you've got everything working against you at this point. The headspace of NIP is likely not in a good place. If their reactions to that loss is any indication, they don't have a timeout. They'd used it a couple rounds ago, 2 rounds ago to be specific.
I mean, they've been pretty good at resetting in their past matches. So, I mean, it's not outlandish to assume Nip can reset, but I agree with you. I mean, if I were in Nip's shoes right now, I would be flustered. That's a really, really long streak of rounds for BDS, and in such a high-pressure situation.
RXWD's first logic bomb goes. Oh! Who's that fight, Pino? He gives his life away. Opening death yet again. Opening pick for BDS. Different player, though. Shaiko's taken the Legion out of open area. Musi and Julia will now be recalled to the site as they got droned. They don't see it, though. Play from above. That's a Lems, dealing quite a bit of damage to Julio, and Nip are just in utter free fall.
Looking a whole lot like map number 2 already here. Julio will get healed up thanks to Psycho on Doc, but there's the Doc himself, challenging on the stairs. RXWD does a lot of damage, forcing out another stim. No more healing for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Still, half of the round for the attack. That is a no rush, no pressure situation. As you continue to open up drop downs, the server hold is going to feel strained after that exothermic.
And here's where things are going to get especially challenging for the defense. Capitao has been unbanned this entire map, but you wouldn't have known it because he's finally getting used. And it's on to Musi, who will just have to run out. He does so. Lems is down. How do you not see him? Open your eyes, lads. Kamikaze with 1 down. And then an immediate smoke. Julio and Psycho get in on the fun. Still server control. Our nerves in the hands of the smoke. He's gonna peek into Rafal. It's him and RXWD, but the Thermite pulls trigger a little bit too early. The smoke will play around the corner, well-paced, and the rhythm works for him. Dropping into the middle of the site is RXWD, 35 seconds. He hasn't been a proficient aimer, but his utility play has been quite there. He doesn't have any as Dokubi, no grenades, no logic bomb. He doesn't have anything at all. He doesn't even have a life. He's gone. Nip desperately needed that in order to get themselves back in this mentally. It breaks the streak that we've seen from BDS. And round 15 is required between these teams on our very first map.
This is as close as it gets with 2 teams. And I, for one, am very happy we get to go all the way. That's the maximum amount of excitement you get. BDS going to open area staff room for the last defense here. They have the advantage of defense, yes. Open area, though, a curious decision. Now, it was played once by BDS, and it was won, actually. They got the lead-off kill, and they took the round. It was played twice by Ninjas in Pyjamas, and it went 1-1. So, better sight for BDS, I suppose, in the overall record, but still a risk. And we'll see how Nip react to it. There is a Kaid castle being brought, so lots of slowdown potential here for BDS. It'll be on Maverick and Zofia to chew through that. But you also have to be careful. You're not bringing an Ashe, you're only bringing a Zofia, which means that there's not going to be anyone to get the Maestro Evil Eyes if you use those lifelines on the castle barricades, apart from Buck. So, yeah, I mean, you can get it with a Maverick Blowtorch, and you can even get it with Habana pellets if it's near a soft wall or hard wall, I mean, even with a Thermite, but you get what I'm getting at here. It's a lot harder to actually make that destruction happen. Much more likely that it's going to be on the lifeline and the nades. So, setup likely going to be centered around a roam, probably a horizontal one since it's open area. Likely to see those drop downs upstairs get reinforced. Electro Quad as well from Kaid. Shaiko's got 16 kills, and Musi's got 15.
It's really Pino, the one who's fallen off over the last couple rounds. Is, like we said, both Musi and Pino are younger players. They will have some inexperience on LAN. They have never played in this competitive of an environment at this stage in their career. So obviously there is going to be nerves. There's going to be nerves from all these teams. Let's not kid ourselves. There are only a couple players that I think aren't having that. Maybe players like Rafal, Renshiro, who've been around since the dawn of time, essentially. And then, of course, the core 3 from Nip. This open area defense from BDS has frustrated Nip so extravagantly over the 2 rounds that we have seen it, or the 1 round rather that we saw it get played. They had no answer for it whatsoever. They were so far back. And once again, Renshiro, who does not miss his shots, was exceptional at holding down the front of this map. If he can continue to do that and get the first pick like he has been so good at doing, then it's going to be really tough for Nip to be able to make up for the lost time and the frag as well. However, here's something interesting. All 3 hard breachers are now being brought. Nip hasn't been bringing them every single round.
The Thatcher's making things really difficult, though. The Thatcher ban, I mean, because you're not going to be able to get through that kitchen wall as easily, and it means that you're going to slowly open these drop-downs. And it's getting done, thanks to Julio. But it will eat up a lot of time, and that's really what Kaid's there for in this case. Lots of soft destruction being used by Pino. That's going to be on the roamers over by Teller. Now, Rafael is playing in Tellers, and he's trying to challenge this. He's actually kind of in its tricky spot. Pino gets the lead off. That's big. That's really big, and it's the smoke of all operators.
He almost had Rafael in his sights down below, so that could have been a second pick for him. As now Shaiko, ever elusive, he's going to head up the stairs, but he gets droned right on the main stairs. He'll head right back into open area. There's all that hard destruction that you see Nip bringing, obviously a conscious decision. And they are just picking apart the ceiling over top of BDS. But they're taking quite a long time to do this. 2 minutes in, you've expended considerable utility to force out the members of BDS. You've gotten a kill and some damage onto Rafael for it. But you know how well BDS are at just totally rebuffing.
And they're doing just that so far in terms of time. Nip are going for the execute. Here it comes. Psycho gets the kill on the initial kill as Psycho pushes in.
So Psycho falls, he gets marked, he doesn't think anything of it. The Buck just narrowly missing out on the castle. Down goes the castle, who dropped to the floor, 30 seconds left. Nip cannot stall out if they want to be able to walk away after breaking the momentum from BDS on the previous round. The hatch control still strong, and if somebody drops without looking, it could be to Nip's downfall. 20 seconds, Maestro position, there's Shaiko for another kill. Shaiko unable to get shot by Kamikaze. They will need to play it with 10 seconds. Can you cover Kamikaze effectively? Shaiko in, spraying away, but he's down. That's a difference maker. The Kaid falls as well, and RXWD goes. No comeback for EU, no comeback for BDS. And we can hear the sighs of relief all the way from Brazil up here in Montreal as map 1, 8-7 goes to Ninjas in Pyjamas.
An absolutely massive win for the Ninjas, but more importantly, that doesn't just start the series off well, it might end the series, as that was BDS's map pick and likely to be their strongest map in this series overall. Map number 2, Border, has looked so good for Ninjas in Pyjamas through this tournament. I don't know if BDS has a chance.
17 kills for Musi, was it? 18 kills for Shaiko. That is an absolute banger of a performance between 2 outstanding players. But the desk is ready to take over, so we'll hear their lovely words as there's plenty of action to go through.
Thank you so much, you lovely, lovely man in Tiro. Yes, indeed, we're back on the analyst desk, and that was a hell of map 1. Honestly, that just fired up the entire room. And I cannot wait for what the second map has to offer, but as Kik was saying, maybe this first map will carry NIP to victory much easier on Border. But first, let's recap what was happening on map 1. Vic.
I'm absolutely thrilled for NIP that they did manage to bring it back to the skin of their teeth, unfortunately, and it looks like BDS had an absolute run at the end there. I mean, we've always said, especially, you know, in the EU scene, BDS on bank on their defensive side, they are confident, they know what they're doing, and I would say out of all of the EU teams I've ever watched play bank, they know every single angle that exists on this map, so you could tell that they deserve that comeback. I think there was just a couple of missed shots there that was really the key between them losing that overtime.
It's just such a roller coaster of match, right? Because they had match point for so damn long and they just couldn't close it. You saw Psycho throw a little bit of a tantrum at one point because they lost a round and they struggled with Clash. BDS comes back and now they're just head to head all the time and no one can really seem to close it out. So, I mean, Nip looked extremely strong to start with and then BDS caught up. I think they kind of broke BDS by doing that.
That is usually the NIP way of doing things. When they're not really able to mesh together well in the game, it means that they're unable to close the match. We went from a 6-2 to a 6-6 into overtime. We thought, okay, BDS were playing the 2 defenses out of the 3. it should go their way because this is where BDS shine, right? It's the defense we talked about, how weak their attack is in comparison specifically here against NIP, but I think that open area defense was just not the play. Even with the castle, it wasn't enough. But that was map 1, Bank. We'll get ready for map 2, Border here, and start breaking things down because right now NIP have a massive lead on this map. It is their pick, and for a good reason. They beat G2 on 7-2 in playoffs day 1. And in day 2, they played Dark Zero. That was a 7-3 victory as well, going NIP's way. They beat 2 of the best teams in the world to get here. And what do BDS really have to do against this one?
Oh, goodness me. We spoke about yesterday with NIP how you're outside of the map and then suddenly you're inside the site. And I think that's going to be a really big strength for NIP. It's my assumption that BDS will start defense on Border, given that they do get that pick for that map. So if they do start defense, they need to be ensuring that they have every single plant denial that they need to stop them, because they will open up the wall and they'll just go for a plant and they'll make sure they have every angle covered. So if I'm BDS, I'm thinking, okay, what do I have to deny? Do I play vertically? Do I just run a maestro? Do I run all the intel I need to know that they're planting at any given time? And I don't know. I mean, the Valkyrie ban from BDS consistently seems to be key for them. And I think if they want to lock out the intel, they're going to actually cut themselves out from their own knees.
I'm more worried about Shaiko and the lack of movement on Border. It's extremely difficult for him to get any kind of flank off or the same kind of pressure that he can apply on Bank, because there's always, you know, an extra hatch you can drop through. But we've seen how Nip plays Border and how quick they are, especially with Pino, to drop downstairs and catch any rotates. So I think they're gonna choke them out.
All right, well, we look at operator bans usually for NIP on this map. We'll be seeing Mira come up quite a bit. So on defense, this is kind of the operator that you're expecting. On attack, though, they'll be banning a Thatcher every now and then, you know, Habana. It really depends on the game they're going with. What do NIP ban against BDS to make it as easy as possible? And I think the answer is a bit clear.
Look, I've always said Habana. If you're going up against BDS, please ban the Habana. It just takes out one whole half of Shaiko's entire arsenal. And why wouldn't you when he's been absolutely on fire?
And we've seen how much they throw that Mav around. It seems like none of them really wants to play it.
Yes.
Right? You've had 3 players on a Mav, and it's 50-50 how quickly the hatches get open. So I don't think you can hit the team much harder than a Habana ban.
Yeah, don't fall into the same mistake that MIBR fell into in the playoffs, because they banned the Thermite, where Rafael plays Thermite, but it's not really the main thing for BDS. As you said, it's mostly the Maverick and the Habana they're doing together, and Shaiko is definitely the man to trying to limit as much as possible, even though the entire team is showing up. That's the only way to get so far and to go into overtime against NIP that are rocking it really in this matchup so far. But BDS, what can they try to limit from NIP's side? Are there any operators that are kind of crutches for NIP on this? You talked about the soft breach, the buck. Is that something they need to look out for?
If they do ban it, I'm going to turn around and applaud them heavily, because that is a ban that will cripple NIP. And I'm not just talking about Pino as a player the same way we talk about Shaiko as a player and being good at it. It's because Pino, every single match we've watched him, he's got more and more proficient at using that skeleton key, both as a utility and as a weapon. And just cut it out. Just get it out of that game and be sure that you use breaching charges, because I feel that's a weakness of NIP.
I agree.
I'd be happy to see a buck ban as well. That, and then run really heavy intel on their defense side and try to, you know, fight that top floor hold.
You expect an Echo or a Maestro to be removed, or you, as a fan of the Jaeger ban, maybe this is Border, this is something that might fit it?
I highly doubt we're gonna see it, but it would be lovely.
Definitely so. Well, closing thoughts here, I guess. Jess, what do you think about this game, and how are your expectations with it?
I do hope it's one of those sort of cursed times where teams win each other's map picks. You know, we see that happen so often. So I do hope for BDS's sake and for all of Europe's sake that we do see BDS. And I think the crowd will somewhat agree. We had them chanting before, so we'll see if they keep going.
There's some French fans here.
There's some
that
French
are
fans. Yeah, merci beaucoup.
Oh, great.
Oh,
great.
Is that good?
Not
Thank you.
too bad. Alex, what do you think?
Merci beaucoup as well, I guess. Yeah. No, I don't think BDS has much left after that game, to be honest. If Nip keeps up the momentum and attitude they had, I don't see anything else in them taking it.
All right, merci beaucoup, Alex and Jess. I hope you guys are ready here, sitting in the arena. It's map number 2. Are we gonna go to Border? Yes, we will. It's NIP versus BDS. Last hope of Latin America, last hope of EU. Maybe it'll end right there. Maybe we'll go to map 3. Are you ready, Montreal? Let's go. Border, Kicks, and Taro, all yours.
One map might determine if a single region goes home, and boy, if you are a fan of Ninjas in Pyjamas, you have so much to look forward to. They have utterly crushed their opponents on this map when they've played it, and they're probably delighted to know that they have an opportunity to close out on Border.
And keep in mind, their opponents have been G2 and DZ. Those are some really big teams to be beating on a map like Border. And like you said, not just beating, but crushing. So we'll see how this pans out for BDS. Thatcher, the first operator banned, as he was in the first map, so he is in the second. No change there. We'll see if we're gonna get a new one for this next ban. It was Montaigne last, and it'll be Buck. So that's really smart. See, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a heavily targeted ban on Pino for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Not just on Pino, but the way that NiP executes. It is going to take away so many tools for NiP, and they will have to change their lineup accordingly.
Border is a very unpredictable map. There's a Kaid ban as well, an operator that both teams are quite effective with. But if you get rid of the Thatcher, now you get rid of Kaid. So you don't have a Thatcher, but you're going to have to deal with a Bandit or a Mute. It's a lot easier to deal with a Bandit or a Mute than it is to take care of the Electric Claw on the other side. Last ban is Amira. Michael, we have Valk, Echo, and Maestro available, and we have every Hard Breacher and Capitao available as well for these teams.
It's a very different ban phase here on Border, and it's going to give us a very different match. I expect this one to be very fast and super exciting.
The term in North America is Hell in a Cell.
A barn burner.
A barn burner.
Well, I mean, that's the expectation off of map number 1 even. Regardless of the map, regardless of the bans, you'd think this would be about as close as it gets. But we're only going to know after the first few rounds. I think that those initial rounds will really set the tempo, and I believe that if NiP start to run away with it, it's going to be really hard for BDS to pull things back. Because, I mean, you just won an 8-7. And in some ways, I really do think that it could be more devastating to lose an 8-7 than to lose a 7-0. Because in a 7-0, it's like, okay, yeah, they're just better here. But in an 8-7, it's, oh, we came so close. And if BDS loses this series, if Europe is knocked out of this tournament, then they will think back to what they could have done on Bank for a long time to come.
Yep. Zeronic said it best, I think, when he goes, I don't know what, BDS has left in the tank.
Yeah.
And so you give it your all, and you still come up short, that's not the position that you want to be in. It's a rough one for BDS to find themselves in, and I completely agree. You're going to be exhausted after that match. You're going to be mentally exhausted as well.
NiP have
much physical endurance.
Yeah, NiP have the small mental kick of having won. I say small, maybe massive.
I think that's a huge victory for them. I think that's a bigger victory for them than it would be a 7-2. 7-2 is great, but then you have to settle into the next matchup. You were just losing across the board, and you managed to come back.
There is to be considered, though, that it could have been a 7-2, because it was at one moment a 6-2, as you were mentioning in the middle of map number 1. And the fact that that comeback happened for BDS, that was scary for NiP for a while. Things might have gone the wrong way for the Brazilians. Oh, there's the first damage being done. Muzi eats some. It's pretty massive.
Muzi was the standout performer in terms of frags for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Having him die early, unideal, especially with how good he has been. Pressure from below now, as you can see one of those explosives from the Zofia go off. Both of them have actually been used by our XWD. And Pino, who didn't even look like he was in sight of any member of BDS while he's gone. Stuns as well will now give away the position of Muzi. Look at how close he is. This hold from Alems, the moment that Muzi moves, that Jaeger is as good as dead.
He's being very patient, though. Just a little bit of shimmying back and forth. and nowhere that he's exposed, so plenty of delay here for Nip, and he gets one on the vault-in. No drone work from BDS. How do they not know? And there's a mark after the Hibana dies. That's diffuser down too, and all of your heart destruction gone.
Oh, missed opportunity from Muzi as two members of BDS are there. Pistol comes out for RXWD, and the sidearm is better than whatever Muzi had at his disposal. Julio and Kamikaze will hold off BDS. Diffuser has not been picked back up yet, so it's still sitting inside of monitors. Follow-up drone work from Nip, or follow-up drone work from BDS could be stopped by those weak chambers of Nip. Kamikaze and Julio have been able to pull off some masterful clutches in this event together, seemingly working as one person, and both of them having their fair share of 1vx clutches, especially in that G2 match that we recall. Play on sandwich by Zofia, gets smoked by Kamikaze. He'll go right back in. He still has a nitro cell as well. Julio with the SMG-11 in hand. He can move up at any point. Nitro cell goes out. Excellent bait by BDS as they wait very patiently. Shaiko holding the angle into small office. He'll need to cover, but he actually blinds Alems. Around the corner, Shaiko falls off. He gets the kill, but that's Diffuser surrender with 5 seconds to go. All you need to do is stay alive, Julio, and he peeks right into Renshiro. BDS end up taking the round as Julio gets caught on a cross. First round goes to BDS.
Very close there, but well played by BDS. The most important thing is that they managed to isolate the roam in CCTV and punish it profoundly. Not only did they get the roamers in CC, but they also managed to get one of the anchors and the player by 90 for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Those kills being what they were, so much more that BDS were bargaining for. That's a pretty big hand away from Nip. And yet, at the very end, it came pretty close. Nip looked like they might have been able to clutch it out. There was a little bit of lucky timing for Nip, but the big unlucky thing for Ninjas in Pyjamas is that they used their utility pretty poorly. They threw out their gas canisters, threw out their C4 off of that first smoke. And you're right, it was a masterful bait by BDS. The most intense part about that is how little time there was left for the attack to execute onto the site. And yet still, they waited. The attackers, with the patience, winning the round, thanks to excellent, smart play. Now, we are going to Ventilation Workshop for Ninjas in Pyjamas for round number 2.
It's the default site that you want to go to after winning Armory, but they didn't win it, so...
I mean, adjustment's good too.
Nip could have gone back here, but what we see out of a lot of teams is that when they lose a site, because you have other options, it's not just like, it's not like a map where you only have one strong site and then anywhere else you go, it's awful. That's not the way it works. It's not like old Clubhouse, it's not like old Cafe where you lose or you win the one bomb site and you're gonna lose everywhere else. Also, we now have a 3-site rotation, which has made teams have to be more proficient at the other sites. Might also catch BDS off guard, though I assume that BDS will be prepared for just about anything. Since Nip is starting on defense, the ban that they are going to have to deal with, more than anything, is the Kaid ban. How much did that affect that previous round? Well, not really much at all, actually. The Armory wall wasn't really a significant focus for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They held a lot of control inside of monitors and then in archives. That's where they had stacked up. Now, mind you, the Kaid ban could have forced them to hold monitors more aggressively, but we know that Nip is a team that likes to play by 90, have a rotate, possibly somebody inside of fountains, somebody playing inside of monitors. Right there you see 90, as that's where the IQ is shooting away at, as Renshiro is just going to burn through ammunition like a madman and not find anything.
Luckily for him, you've got plenty in Siege. Don't think we very often see anyone run out. This is a very aggressive play from Shaiko. He has been droned in here. He knows this is clear. He's just being cautious on the push. Shaiko is going to be integral here, but Alems is the one to get the first kill. There goes Muzi. So one of your roamers upstairs eliminated. It's a big pick. They are not out of that top floor roam yet. They're going to be hurting on it. The Armory hold is the primary for Ninjas in Pyjamas as they want to deny the vertical pressure. There's 2 for Nip. Didn't see where. It's certainly happening. It seems to be on the top clear over by Armory. at a long angle, in fact. So an attempted challenge there, and BDS now suffering for it as they find themselves at the man disadvantage. One spotted on 90. That's a Lems. His position known. There's potential for aggressive plays here for Ninjas in Pyjamas, but we're not seeing any.
He knows the Yokai drone is there, but it's directly above him, being watched ever so keenly by Ninjas in Pyjamas. They can work together with a good blast from the Yokai, as we still don't know if it's actually been shot out. Alems can still be getting watched as he gets ever closer towards that Beeper's shield that's employed. Shaiko's gonna have to watch both the hatch as well as directly in front of him into Armory. Caught out his Kamikaze, he was trying to creep up on Alems, but blind was the Yokai, so the call could have been wrong from Ninjas in Pyjamas. Alems is now downstairs, very close to being able to pull off a push into the site. The Echo will go on to the Yokai drone as Diffuse going down from Rafal inside of sight. C4 goes out, Rafal falls off. He's going to engage with gun out. Type 89 does so much damage, shrugging off some of that damage as he goes for the Diffuse yet again. Here's the coverage that you need, but the Legion on the ground gets one. It's 2 kills. Rafal has to fall off as Shaiko is taken out from above. Rafal's had so much clutch potential, but it's not going to happen here. Round 2 for Nip.
Big win for Ninjas in Pyjamas. It all came off of those 2 kills upstairs. Because of that, you could tell BDS, they got a little bit slower. They were less confident in their clear of that top floor, and they were unable to establish the dominance that they so very much wanted. BDS, though, they had a decent recovery attempt. Coming in through Tellers, through the bathroom, going for the plant, dodging the C4s. Things were looking all right. They've also got control of Archives at that point, so there's no worry for a vertical denial. But the retake of Workshop for Nip came in, ended up being really solid, and the roam on the horizontal plane was not ever dealt with. While they did clear out some of the roamers upstairs, though not all, they really didn't deal with anyone in customs. As you can see, that Legion, constant thorn in the side of BDS. Now, we'll go back to Armory. The second attempt for Ninjas in Pyjamas. First time didn't go so well for them.
There is one thing to make mention of that I'm not sure if the group stage has, but we have here on the main stage, is that the usual time to pick operators, pick your site, etc. before 6th pick kicks in, it's extended. It's extended because all of the replays get shown. So teams have an extra 20 seconds or so each round to discuss takes if you're on attack, and structuring your defense.
Attackers need to locate.
That helps an awful lot. It's also somewhat of a refresher if you are losing. It's not going to make all that much of a difference, but it can be done to somewhat slow down momentum. For a team like Ninjas in Pyjamas, who, it was stated in the interview that we heard from them, what was it, a day or 2 ago, there are some times where halfway through the round they still don't know what they're doing yet. Well, if that's the case, that extra 20-second pause is crucial because they can plan some small things ahead of time, and then when they're in the middle of the round, that cut and thrust, and they know what execute is coming, they can possibly have a backup plan. Who knows if they do? We're just
right. I think the big thing is that they generally seem like they do, Ninjas in Pyjamas. Always have that like little plan in the back of their pocket. They whip out at the last second and it manages to get them the round.
Renshiro, you do not have breaching charges.
He's trying with the Claymore.
I don't know if the Claymore will blow up.
So that's actually going to be a Ash Charge diverted from its regular path. And that's going to be a little bit of soft destruction that could have been used somewhere else. I think that RX wanted to have, or rather Renshiro, I believe it was, wanted to have those breaching charges. Unlucky.
RX could also have breaching charges.
Either one of them, yeah.
Rafal could have breaching charges, but you almost never see a Hibana running that.
Okay, he's really trying for that Guzmat. He's not going to get it. It's in the shelf.
Yeah.
It's inside the shelf, I'm pretty sure. And so it's going to be catching someone who vaults it through the window. That's a pretty common one, and it's actually really solid if you're trying to hold CCTV. But it looks like Nip might have fallen off. Yeah, it looks like they're not in CCTV. They're by 90 and in Armory, but not CC.
First kill goes to Shaiko. BDS with yet another opening duel, and immediately lost, though, to Musi. These two have just been going at each other. Drone sails by the feet of Musi, and he will just rotate elsewhere. That information that was acquired by the drone will be far less accurate. An engagement in RXWD as he swings onto the balcony. The ACOG in the hands of Pino. Oh, misses. Oh my goodness, on a Lems.
That's a big loss there for Pino, and a surprising one at that. It looked like he had the lineup, but he misses the shot. BDS now, man advantage, no response from Nip.
Engagement that had been called out earlier gets activated by Rafal. That will make some noise as all three members of BDS that are near the site are spread out enough. There's a fourth member as well. Actually, three of them have now very quickly gotten close to one another, and they are on the armory wall. Another on sandwich, that's Renshiro. He'd lost his fight to Kamikaze earlier, but Kamikaze's now going to have pressure, so he can't swing onto that window the way that he wants to.
Flashes go in, stuns as well. Kamikaze between a rock and a hard place here with this utility used from BDS. Another stun, but a run out from Musi gets the player on North Repel. Lems in the sight's gonna get Julio. That's a nice headshot. There's plenty of coverage for Rafal to go for the plant. He gets it. Now post plant 2v3, and that's it. It's over. Ninjas in Pyjamas swept up by BDS. That Claymore, by the way, I wanted to mention it when it was placed. So masterfully placed, as it would have been a pretty easy shot had the tracer been further up.
What was the big thing with that round?
The big thing for that round? Oh, hang on, we'll get to that later. There's a little bit of a fight going on here. And I think we could say that, oh.
They might not be winning the series yet, but they are certainly winning the hearts and minds of the crowd. Doesn't surprise anybody that a French team is doing well in Montreal.
Yeah, it's BDS, I think, really the favorite here right now. I mean, after that battle we just saw. But that could change.
Pino losing that fight was...
Oh, big.
That was almost the full round.
So
you lose the anchor that you have playing in bunker. You lose the two yokais from being particularly effective, though there is an IQ that's going to be brought so that you don't have that same issue with the yokai watching a Lems and nothing happening. So well countered by BDS. But the missed shots from Pino, who has had a shaky second half of the first map and now needs to settle things down. Because if you want to beat a team like BDS, you need somebody like Pino to show up.
He lands his shots normally.
Yeah, there's no way around it. He needs to be able to land those shots.
I mean, it was a really difficult one, to be fair to him. But still. I think a bigger part of that also was Ninjas in Pyjamas giving away CCTV. They kind of just gave it up, and they're trying to play a little bit safe. I get it. But there's a lot of utility investment in CC. There's Mats, Goyo shields, and I would have expected a little bit more of a stalwart hold there, but not so for the Ninjas. The fallback didn't work out for them as they lost a player on that retreat. That was Psycho, who was by 90. He was holding in CC. He did fall back, and he got caught in that retreat by Shaiko. Now, of course, that did end up being a refrag, but I don't know. Could have been more time wasted.
Well, BDS already putting up a pretty good effort against this NIP team on border. The two matches were a 7-3 for NIP at least, since this is NIP's map pick. It was a 7-3 against Dark Zero, and then against G2 it was a 7-2. Those are the only times that we have seen border get played by NIP. BDS has also played it twice. It was a 7-4 victory to Reciprocity, and then it was a 5-7 loss to Dark Zero. And then BDS lost to Dark Zero on this map, and then NIP beat Dark Zero on this map. By that sliding scale, that should be an even greater indicator, even though playstyles don't match up that evenly. That NIP are a team with a significant advantage. But BDS off to a hot start. On attack, on border, a map that very much favors teams that are capable of living and thriving in the chaos. There goes the Goyo shield, and could we see a second breaching charge go all the way down? Checo still has one left. A breaching charge could take out the Evil Eye Cam situated at 90, providing there isn't an ADS nearby.
Nothing coming of it so far.
Device in position.
Long angle play still from Nip. Plenty of utility eaten up there by BDS and Nip alike. So it's going to come down a lot more to the gunfights. There's the last ADS, I believe, being cleared out there on 90. That's going to allow them to open up onto that Evil Eye.
This is such a greasy angle by Psycho. He gives his position away as he's going to play on all of the different punch holes that have been opened up. But because the wall is reinforced, that means that Rafal will be okay for the time being. Julio will lose some of his cover now.
I like that he plays passive, though. He could not have peeked there. And Shaiko and Alems get one each. Renshiro adds to it. BDS suddenly coming alive. The angle play working out great. Kamikaze will get one. And by Fountain, Psycho misses his shots and makes himself exposed. BDS sweep up nice and easy as the execute comes in.
How did BDS even accomplish that? We didn't really see all that much drone work happen. It was almost as if either they just peeked into Ninjas in Pyjamas and won the fights, or Nip peeked into them. Nip is going to take their time out. Not bad for BDS to prompt Nip and force them to take it just at the conclusion of that 4th round. Settle the boys down, maybe go over some strategies, because Nip on defense on border, they're off to a bad start.
Bad start indeed. And on Nip's map, no less. Dawn just said she wanted to see all 3 maps. Who knows? Maybe that will happen. We don't see teams trade maps very often. It does happen. It has happened at this tournament a few times. It's definitely more common to see a team take their own and then lose on their opponents than we go to the 3rd. Or just see that quick and easy 2-0 when you've got a clearly favored team in a matchup. In this one, not so much. It's pretty even so far. I imagine Ninjas in Pyjamas are going to be putting up some better runs in these last 2 rounds of the first half. You get a 3-3 coming out of your defensive border, that's not bad. It's not bad at all. So far from both teams, we've seen some pretty masterful play in terms of the way that they execute. I have to give the edge to BDS. I think that they did a lot of study on Ninjas in Pyjamas because of the way that they're playing. It really does scream that. BDS used up a lot of utility on 90. They lost a lot of drones. We saw them get shot. And I thought to myself, and you even mentioned it, well, there's not going to be enough information gathering for BDS for them to actually properly execute through that round. But the angle play was really the star of the show there for BDS. They got to where they needed to be to cut off the rotations of the defenders. And then, yeah, we didn't see all of it, but it's pretty obvious what was happening there. Nip couldn't move. They were in a stranglehold.
Really rough spot. The hard destruction from Habana was particularly good as well from Rafal. Managed to open up that entire wall. And Nip's play inside of Office and Fountain wasn't what it needed to be. You know, you had the TCSG in the hands of the Goyo. He's going to have it yet again. Kamikaze missed pretty much most of his shots, I think, at least from what we saw.
We have seen a lot of missed shots from Nip through this map, strangely.
Well, they know how much pressure this is.
Maybe that's it.
They make it to the final 3 if they just win border.
Wow.
Clubhouse is up next.
I mean,
Nip has played it twice, won both times. BDS has played it 3 times. They've won it twice, lost it once.
Make it to the final 3, but we'll still have to get through whoever loses in that winners finals. And that match will be later today. Those of you who don't know, TSM versus SSG, that'll be an exciting one, for sure. Much as this is.
Trying to think back to that G2 matchup with Nip on here. Nip was really good on attack, if you recall, but I don't remember the exact specifics of them on defense.
You see, right now, Pino's dropping 0 kills on round number 5. And Lems, in stark contrast, has 7. Whereas everybody else is hovering around 3. And that's a really big note there, and I think it really perfectly highlights what's going on in this match, where Nip are struggling to win their gunfights. And that is very uncommon for Nip.
That's been a bit of a difference from Alems in map number 1. There goes Rafal. Psycho wins the fight. Some breathing room for NIP established as they have been trailing BDS and getting that very first pick. It comes with about half of the round still to go. Man of the hour, Shaiko is above. By Rafal going down, that also means there's no hard destruction. It's a fight. Psycho tries to win it, misses every shot on Shaiko. The R4C is just so much better. Given that this is a frag-heavy map, you've moved Shaiko off of the Hibana. You'll have Rafal on that, and Shaiko will now just play Ash. He will do lots of killing as he tries to take back the lead from Alems, and here's your golden opportunity. Musi punishing Alems as the Nomad peeks and looks the wrong way.
That was just a pre-fire from Muzi, and it works out great for him. Now BDS are the ones who have to fight against the disadvantage. But Shiro opening up into customs, the lifeline. It's gonna be Julio on the other side of that.
That second lifeline missed. Sees the head, and Julio has no contest when Shiro just drags it on down. A second kill from Musi. Are we about to see a showcase of his talents versus Shaiko's? As RXWD will drone Shaiko on in. There goes a breach charge into a bomb site. It's a 2v2, 30 seconds to go. Goyo shield taken down. Shaiko will look to force one out. He actually gets Pino. No kill for Pino yet. Musi and Kamikaze now 2v2.
Oh, he snuck past this optic. RX doesn't know it. Will he step in? Yes, he stands up, and that's an easy one for RXWD. Kamikaze now has to find 2 or wait out these last 6 seconds. It's possible. He has C4 as well. There's only 2 seconds left. The plant going down, and there it is, the final kill. RX secures the round.
Shaiko goes to plant in a huge final round from RXWD as he drones a clear path for Shaiko in and then just sits patiently and waits. They're trying their best.
They're trying really hard.
They're trying their best.
They are severely outnumbered.
This is very nearly a repeat of what we saw on the first map. You always have to chuckle when these circumstances come up, where a team wins the other team's map, and then it switches around, and the other team does well on the other team's map.
It's an awkward situation, but it does occasionally happen.
BDS playing very motivated and have been picking apart Ninjas in Pyjamas. Pino has had a miserable game so far. He has been totally non-existent, and you can't help but ask yourself if part of that is what tilted him back on bank. He made some very questionable plays. Unfortunately for him, they ended up costing his team a couple early picks, and then some of those ended up being an entire round, because we know how crucial it is when you lose that opening pick, or how when you win that opening pick, how crucial it is to your overall success.
I mean, looking at the overall stats right now, and Pino's not too far behind everybody else, but he is the one lacking the most overall. Rafael and Renshiro, though, are also having a pretty bad match in the macro, if you take a look at both maps together. So, really, for me, this has been a story of Shaiko and Muzi. You take a look at their statistics. Muzi's 22 and 14 so far. Shaiko 23 and 13, and that might be a little bit out of date after that last round. That's gonna have to be updated in 1 minute or so, but still, those are some pretty impressive stats from both. That last round, actually, by the way, surprising that NIP didn't take that. Thanks to the performance from Muzi, they were in a great spot, but he just couldn't hammer it home. And you could see that reflected in his stats for this map, too. 5-5 right now. I mean, he is the top performer for NIP in this series, by far and away. The only one deep in the green, statistically. But it hasn't been the best map 2 for him. I mean, it's been okay, but it hasn't been Muzi levels of performance just yet. Just means he hasn't had his moment. We'll see if that comes later, or if it comes in map number 3.
It's a rough spot to be in if you're Ninjas in Pyjamas. You used your timeout, you didn't do anything the very next round. It was close. Some of these rounds have been very close, and some of them a bit more lopsided. It's some of them very much the best performance from BDS. Shaiko with almost a sixth sense as Julio still is the C4 there, but Shaiko gets out of the way the moment that gets tossed up.
The caution on Julio there. I think actually salvaged the C4 because I don't think it would have worked. You're right, Shaiko moved at the right moment.
No, I agree with that. Right call, as it's Events defense downstairs. Yet again, these are the only two sites that have been played by Ninjas in Pyjamas. They only won Vents, so, well, they went here again, lost it, and now they're giving it another whirl. But BDS have just been collapsing on Ninjas in Pyjamas. It will continue. Oh my God, they are piling on. 3 kills for them. Kamikaze and Julio, again, left to play, but it's a flawless round for BDS. First half, 5-1 for the European team on NIP's map.
The team that dominated Dark Zero and G2 on Border through this tournament being dominated by BDS. It's not done yet as we switch to the second half. BDS will go on to defense. We'll see how they fare. Ninjas in Pyjamas have had very ruthless attacks on this map in the past. It's actually been one of their stronger sides, I'll be honest, on Border. However, recovering from a 5-1 is not easy. Even if you're confident in your ability to win those gunfights or win those executions on the attacking side, 5-1 is just it's a really tall order. I don't know if they've got it in them. It's got to be demoralizing to go down so far so quickly on your own map, and I'm sure it was even for BDS when they were down 6-2 on Bank.
Talk about a momentum swing.
Right.
Absolutely remarkable. Just watching Ninjas in Pyjamas fight back, claw, tooth and nail against BDS after BDS had just done the same thing. And having seemingly everything going in their favor, and what happens? They just spectacularly implode.
I mean, a big part of that is going to be BDS, right? Because we have been seeing BDS pick apart Ninjas in Pyjamas defenses pretty well. I think that this is targeted play. We talk about how Ninjas in Pyjamas managed to beat 2 really massive teams on this map. Well, yeah, you're gonna study it because you expect Ninjas in Pyjamas to pick it as their primary map. I mean, clearly BDS has done that. It's showing in the way that they play. Now, the real question is, does that show on BDS's defenses now? Because it's entirely possible that NIP, with their dynamic attack strategies, are going to be capable of adapting to how BDS sets up, regardless of how well thought out it is.
I really hope the crowds are mic'd for the audio at home.
Oh yeah, I hope you guys can hear this.
I will never forget Sao Paulo.
Oh yeah.
I will never get Sao Paulo when it's like, they're like, wow, listen to that crowd, and none of the crowd mics are good.
That was hilarious.
Sometimes I just go back and I rewatch that if I want to feel sad and laugh at myself.
So it was a really small venue and they just shoved people in there, and it was the loudest crowd we had for a long time. Yeah, at that point. And nobody could hear it. Psycho gets Shaiko, and as weird as that sounds, the leadoff kill goes to NIP. That was a rappel in on the break room wall, a punch hole, and a dead CCTV roamer in Shaiko. A beautiful play from NIP, and amazing that that was not punished.
And the fact that it's CCTV/monitors is crucial. Why? Because the site is customs, believe it or not. The very first defense for BDS is going to come on a 3rd site, and one that a lot of teams would now consider a 4th site with how much that Bathroom Tellers has seen play.
There's still Rafael up here by the shelf. A lot of pressure on him for this round. BDS still has a heavy site presence, and they've got roamers in Armory as well. RX is going to be a big moment here, but oh, look at that. 2 for Enshiro. And Nip thought they could take CC, but looks like they can actually. As they start, taking site? We don't know. What we do know is they pick up 2 kills to answer BDS's 2.
Rafal was outside long enough to get exposed, so they know that he's playing inside of Armory. That just leaves Renshiro as the big question mark, as Nip still holds an advantage in terms of numbers for the remainder of the 50 seconds or so, unless BDS can do something about that. Diffuser is down, surrendered at the top of the stairs. It's Psycho's job to go pick it up. It'll likely be him having to go for the plant. I don't really know. Both he and Julio are low. The fact that the last 2 operators are a Meister and a Smoke means that their gadgets can slowly tick away at your HP.
That shield from Renshiro is going to be big because he can hold the diffuser. Look at how little time there is. Actually, Renshiro falls off. Psycho's got it now. 20 seconds left, though. They need to get to the site. Renshiro's still on 90. This is going to be really big. He's going to hold the bottom of the stairs, see an enemy, and spray out, but the call is in, and the kill is there. It's all Rafal now to hold the cross, and he won't. Ninjas and Pyjamas get it. A beautiful 3v2 there. And that's their first round since round number 2.
Integral for BDS to not lose everything they've built for up to this point. Teams have thrown curveballs on a played-out map like Border by starting on Customs or starting on Bathroom and totally handicapping themselves for the remainder of this match. That is a rough spot to be in if you're BDS. Now, BDS still have a stranglehold on this map. They are, for now, heavy favorites to be able to win it all. The attackers have an advantage if BDS's track record is anything to go off of, but that could have just been BDS looking like they were well better structured. You're not going to get gifted a round where Shaiko goes down at the very start of your take again. Shaiko doesn't make those kind of mistakes more than once, and he'll play smarter. Nip might not get so lucky, and as long as Shaiko is in play, BDS's chances of winning are about even. If not, depending on the circumstances, much higher. So, do you go back down to Customs? The answer is no, because you're not lunatics. It's going to be an Armory defense for the second crack at it for BDS.
So, I've talked about in the past how I think that Shaiko is an integral piece in this team, and you were talking about it too. He's really important for BDS. The Renshiro Alem's contribution here cannot be overstated. And the fact that they've got, what, 8 and 9 kills between them, that's pretty impressive. Not 8 and 9 between them, but rather 8 and 9 respectively. You don't see that kind of contribution from them very often.
Shaiko's still playing inside of CCTV. We have to, your thing needs to come out soon, because I always call them monitors, because that's what a lot of other people call it. Because, that entire wall of monitors.
Mm-hmm. It depends on where you're from.
The monitors are used for
CC's a more European call.
Well, I'd said that you're not going to get another round where you pick off Shaiko that early on, and I guess I'm wrong, because Pino is starting to heat up. He had that goose egg for quite a long time. He's got 3 kills now, and one of them being the head of Shaiko. Not too bad.
Shaiko has been getting shut down a lot of rounds, like you mentioned, and I think that's definitely going to hurt BDS, but again, the supporting cast really showing up in this match for BDS, and you've got to be impressed by it. Their refusal to lose here. So don't count BDS out of this round just yet, even though Nip's gonna get the opening kill.
Did they just pick off a yokai? It sure looked like it.
Maybe.
I don't know if they were actually able to get it through those thicker baseboards.
Yeah, the studs are really hard. You're not gonna be hitting much through that.
Rafal is downed by what sounds like a frag grenade. That's likely Pino, and finished off. Perfect time for him to be able to start adding to the tally for his team. And of course, that's the Smoke as well, who had just set up a deployable shield. Maybe the deployable shield also went down. We don't exactly know.
This is still tricky though. Nip haven't won this round yet. The biggest, oh, maybe they have. Psycho through the wall gets one. A response from Alems though. RX and Alems have a whole minute they're gonna have to hold out here. And that's the real big one there for BDS. Pino gets his 3rd for the round. He's showing up big here. It's all on Alems to hold out against 4.
He still has a yokai drone. Just ask Reciprocity how that feels. But with all the marks, there's not that much he can do with it. And he can't do much with the gun either. Shut down by Pino. Is that a 4K for him?
A big round, and yes, indeed, I believe it is. Pino, who had been underperforming through the beginning of this match, starting to wake up in the second half. That's a really big push there from the Ninjas fans.
2 very big rounds as well inside of the game, not just the conduct that's happening inside of this stadium, but NIP being able to take away the advantage that BDS had and slowly narrow this gap. Another armory defense for BDS. Shaiko has been completely ineffective on defense. His ADSs not seemingly stopping most of the throwables. He has not been able to find a single frag on defense yet, as he has been the opening death for his team 2 times in a row. I said it last round, and I will say it again, but it is very unlikely, as I said it with far more certainty before, it's very unlikely that he is going to be killed without being able to make an impact on the round. And watch, I bet you a drink, a non-alcoholic, responsible drink at the bar.
Oh.
That Shaiko not only doesn't end up the first death, but he has a monstrous round to make up for the fact that he had 6 minutes to sit and power up.
Well, let's just wait and see then. I'll take that one, I guess, and maybe Shaiko's gonna get the lead-off kill here. Maybe he's going to be the lead-off kill, but he is playing very aggressive, as you can see, on Break Room. So risk taken for Shaiko. This is not actually going to be very pressured right now, as it doesn't seem like anyone's going to be opening up that Break Room door. Surprising. The NIP are going to actually shift. Looks like they're focusing primarily on the downstairs take. Not a whole lot happening right now. NIP just setting up around the bomb site. It looks like, yeah, they've got a player on most corners of this bomb site right now, except for by office.
So the white gloves of the dock of Renshiro on that drone for but a second. And yes, it is.
He's spotted out too by a drone. Ooh.
He sees it, can't get the drop on it, at least not yet.
But he knows he's been spotted, and from below, it's the lifeline. But only one, and so Renshiro gets away alive. He'll be able to heal himself up too, since he's playing on that dock, but no one by half wall. Oh, that's an opportunity for Muzi. Missed, as the dock was exposed, and now he's safe, but he gets back standing. Muzi with the entry and the initial. He's going for a second and gets it. Alem's a bad peek. Julio adds to it with Rafael, and it's all on Shaiko and RX to clutch in the 2v5, make that 1v5. RX in archives, it's a flawless round for the Ninjas.
I owe you a drink.
I'll have an apple juice.
There you go. Nobody was a factor in that round because everybody died before they could get an answer back. So, shocking how quickly things change. And well, if you look at these operator bands, Pino on attack. He's not playing Buck, he's got the sledge. Remember, the target ban from the Buck onto Pino, obviously not affecting him very much, especially when you've got this 1-2 punch that NIP has relied on for most of this event, and as well through Pro League. Muzi and Pino working well together, working well apart. Right now they are dominating. It's the first 3 rounds on attack. They have the opening death, or the opening duel in all of them, and a flawless round. No opening deaths. Not bad.
No deaths at all over that last round too. I mean, that was a pretty impressive one. Big ups to Muzi, but most importantly to Ninja Games as a whole for being able to push the dock away from half wall. Unlucky for BDS. I think it was, I want to say Renshiro who was on that dock, who repositioned outside of half wall. They tried to come back, and then he forgot to crouch, so he wasn't safe. It happens. He was focused on the people pressuring him from below.
10 seconds left before.
Now, we're going to different defense here for BDS. Looks like it's going to be ventilation. They've tried this before. They failed it before. In fact, there's not been a single defensive win for BDS yet. And that's worth noting. NIP only got 1 defense successful in the first half. There's only been Still, 1 defense successful for either team so far. As far as I can, unless my record keeping is incorrect.
So, what are we going to be able to see from Nip here? Julio has been loving this Nomad pick. We haven't really seen any air jabs be all that effective because, well, there's been nobody to flank for BDS. They just keep getting killed very, very quickly. I don't know what just got shot from above. I think that was a mute jammer. On the wall of detention, so now there it will go. Exothermic charge from Kamikaze blows jail wide open. And then in will follow a drone. 2 drones, actually.
Okay. Quick correction, I was wrong. They haven't tried ventilation before.
That's fine.
I saw it as a...
It's okay. So the push that's going to happen is going to be on the west side of the map, down below and up top. Probably trying to clear out Armory as your next step if you're Nip. Alems is positioned at bunker. He's gonna have a C4 at the ready. He's got an ADS too.
Pretty safe spots from BDS so far. Nothing really coming of the push from Nip. We've seen this though before, quite a lot. Nip are slower on the setup for the execution, on the setup for the roam clear, on anything really when it comes to attack. They want to get things right. So they drone first, figure out what they're dealing with, then confront it together, as you do. Peek from Alems nets Muzi, who reacts slow. That's a nice flick there with the SMG-11.
It's a tough shot to make with that SMG-11, yeah, and really well done by him. Wall still gets opened up, so Kamikaze's execution with those 2 exothermic charges. Perfect. But look at the clock. A minute to go. BDS know they've got match point. And given that they've got the opening kill, if they trade, they'll still come out ahead. Important to note with this site, because Nip are stalling out really hard. Down goes Psycho, he was clearing somewhere else. He gets spotted by the Valkyrie and punished by it as Renshiro had gone off of the Maestro. He's got a Nitro Cell now. Just goes off behind Pino, who's watching for the Valkyrie to cross on over, but he looks away. Deagle out, losing the fight. Very hard for him to win that. Pino immediately takes to the top of the stairs, and Alems runs right into him. They collide, but it's Alems who wins that one out. Julio through the back, he'll need to clutch now in a 1v3 with Shaiko, Alems, and RXWD still up. Mute is spotted, down he goes, 5 seconds, Diffuser is miles away. This is gonna be match point whether they get the kill or not. BDS, they finally get one on defense.
Big win there for BDS. It's not over yet, but the crowd is pushing them forward. Could easily be the final one there. And there's the fight back. This constant back and forth.
If you think this is the good crowd, just wait until the next match. I cannot wait to hear what happens in this barn when it's TSM versus SSG.
And they agree.
That was just as loud as they have cheered for this entire match at just the prospect of our next match.
It's going to be an exciting one.
So they're very excited.
I am too. Can't wait to watch it. Now, that's a Parker chant.
Thank you, thank you. Why don't you cheer for Veli and Anna? It's their birthday today.
Happy birthday, both you guys.
It's also UB Justin's birthday today. There you go. It's also Reed the Body Shot Machine Adams' birthday today.
Are you the birthday tracker?
I'm not. What happened 9 months ago? What happened 9 months ago? That all these people were like, let's have a child as close to Valentine's Day as possible. You're supposed to do that on Valentine's Day, not to prepare for Valentine's Day.
I don't know what you're talking about, Parker.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do, yeah. That's a nice camera there from Alems, and he'll throw out a second one just in case. Plenty of outside information. No IQ on the board for Nip, so those are probably, well, at least one of them might persist.
Back to customs they go. They, after losing Armory twice, obviously are not comfortable with it. And RXWD on the alibi, that is a gamble to take on this site. Ability to slow down, mark your opponents, but also just be tough to track. Obviously not too challenging for Musi. He gets his 9th frag.
So now they know not to shoot any of the alibi prismas, and it's going to be big.
Unless they shoot the base of it, Michael, because that's how you get rid of them.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Musi entering in through Archives. He's got to deal with a player, I believe, in the hallway. Now at the top of middle. No, actually, no. It's a complete fallback. BDS are just playing off of their CCTV hold. Correction. So Rafal by the shelf, Shaiko holding by Banana, and it's going to be just a slow denial of presence. There's the push up from the Maestro again to the top of Metal. He eats some damage and is finished off by Julio. Great call for Ninjas in Pyjamas to sync up and get that kill.
But there's Shaiko. Finally, he's able to make his presence known on defense. He's been very quiet. Could he come alive when his team needs him the most? Well, he takes down Pino, who's been one of the hottest players for NIP over the last 3 rounds, 4 rounds. He's been exceptional. You're also safe with those ADSs in play because the frag grenades will not be particularly effective if they can't be thrown. Shaiko now on 1 HP though. He can break out of jail. The Thermite is not too far off. He hears this, he'll capitalize. Diffuser down. His identity is revealed. It's hidden, but he bursts out. Excellent play as he hears the Thermite go on to drone. Musi is above. Does he have the ability to see down into jail? Somebody will have to go pick up the diffuser. That is the bigger challenge.
What are Ninjas in Pyjamas doing at this point?
Seems they're stalling out.
It seems like just that, as there's not a lot of work being done by NIP to actually regain the lead that they once had. That kill from Shaiko was especially huge considering his low HP, and now the pressure that the time is applying to NIP.
Shaiko has not been taken out of jail just yet. It's a long sentence, apparently. He'll find another with Rafal there, and 1 kill separates us from nap number 3. Above, Psycho will watch the hatches. He needs to drop 15 seconds, no withstand. 3rd map between these teams. We're not done yet. BDS stunning Ninjas in Pyjamas on border, taking it to a best of 1 on Clubhouse.
A massive win there for BDS, upsetting a lot of what the expectations were going to give us. A good night from the crowd. And we go, as you said, to that map 3. That's pretty exciting. Did not expect to get there, considering Border has been such a good map for NIP, but it seems BDS countered well. We'll hear what the analysts think about that exciting map 2.
Thank you so much, Kickstar. Yes, indeed. What a hell of a map. 2, it started off so strong between the 2 on Bank. Now we came to Border, and we expected maybe NIP can sweep through this with the momentum that they have. A lot of teams, specifically these 2, are very emotional. BDS lose by a hair on map 1. Maybe they could have lost the second one, but no, they fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so excited because I do want to say very clearly, shout out to BDS, the Buck Band was the play. And this is the 200 IQ that I feel every other team that went up against NIP said. And it's not just because I said it, it's because if you have 2 eyes and more than 2 brain cells, you could have worked it out by now.
I'm happy to see the Kaid because they got most of their lead on the attacking side. And you don't have this thing where you can hide your Kaid claws all of a sudden, right? So you got your mute gems on your batteries, and they have to stay right in front of the wall pretty much most of the time. You have a little bit of flexibility with the mute gem, but not a lot. So it didn't slow BDS down in terms of getting any kind of control at all. And to be fair, for the first 3-4 rounds, Lens was kind of just running the show by himself.
Yeah, and it seemed like no matter what, NIP always had control of the bottom floor. Specifically when you were attacking Armory, they always dealt with a player behind half wall, and there's the Doc there a couple times, every time gets shot. On top of all of that, also holding on to the connector window, basically in the center by Sandwich. So they had control, and to try to isolate the player in that location, It's just there was one specific round where they didn't even need to set foot inside of the building, NIP that is, and then were able to shut down BDS in that way. What allows them to dominate some rounds and then just fail at others, NIP?
I think you pointed out really well is that they were outside of the map, they weren't even in. It was those long angles and those ACOGs as well. We got to give props to having those extra sights that aim in, and really bad positioning, especially in Armory from a lot of BDS players. And I think that's really all it was. And we had a couple of players like Shaiko, for example, who was in CCTV. No need to peek, play the time. And I think on those specific, that's a hard word, specific round, we had Shaiko just over peak consistently, and I think that was just not necessary, but they brought it back, and they definitely deserve this map, and I am going to pin it on the back of a lot of those really good bans.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the bans had a massive effect. That Pino was, kind of AFK for half of the game at least.
Yes.
And it's rough when they've been used to having him be such an impactful player. Like the games yesterday, every single round he pretty much showed up. And now you have to fight this game with 4. It's not going to work for them, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if they got a little bit too arrogant after first game. Maybe that's it. It shouldn't have been this difficult for them in the start, I'd say. It should have been a much closer game for the whole match.
But Shaiko was really allowed to run around the map constantly, yet again, maybe Nomad would have been a thing for this year to kind of help you as you're preparing for your push on the site, because that Jaeger play that he has constantly, we saw in the last clip there, if you had a Claymore, if you had Nomad Trap or something, maybe you would have been able to nab and get a kill off of it.
I think when he was roaming downstairs as well, there was no need for NIP to engage a Jaeger who does not possess a C4, so leave him there. They ran a Nomad. Who cares if he's downstairs unless he has X-ray vision, which let's not hope not. And we're assuming every single time that a Jaeger downstairs or anyone else without a C4 is absolutely useless unless you've got vertical holes open. So they should have left him. They should have stopped opening up above him and trying to engage him, and they should have just waited for him to go get air jabbed, because that's what would have happened in the end.
I think they would have benefited from just doing straight on attacks. Like on Nip's attacking side, just go straight in.
Well, we're going to map 3, Clubhouse. BDS are starting on the defense. They won most rounds, so you can only assume that it was their pick in the end to go for that side. And it makes a lot of sense, right? We talked about it time and time again. BDS on attack have their weaknesses. On defense, this is where they shine. And there's few maps that give you such a massive advantage on the defense as Clubhouse, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of counters though, since Clubhouse, since its remake, has now just had so many iterations of meta and strategies that you can go through. I think the bans will be pretty instrumental, and they always have been on the Clubhouse since the remake. So I think if we see another bit of instrumental banning happening rather than comfort bans, this will play into that certain team's favor.
And I think now is about time that Nip pulls out that Habana ban to hurt Shaiko a bit. There's no point in them banning Mav. I know Mav is a great operator in Clubhouse, but yesterday it didn't really help BDS out too much with that Mav.
And again, BDS MIBR ended in MIBR banning the Thermite, which did not help at all in Clubhouse. 7-4 for BDS on it. They couldn't close it really easily at the end, but a couple rounds is all they needed to finish it out. Yeah. Maverick ban might not be the biggest. Hibana Maverick combination is what we usually see from BDS. So you're saying Hibana is probably the operator that you'll see ban. A Thatcher as well? Expected?
Yeah, I mean, God, you don't like to see the duo ban, do you? You know, a Thatcher Maverick ban, you always think, or a Hibana ban, 2 hard breaching bans. You see it on maps like Bank, for example, which are really hard breaching heavy, and you want to get that advantage early. And I just think that even if you ban the Hibana, and this is where I'm actually going to go against my word and say the Hibana ban might not be effective, because he has shown prowess on the Maverick, even though it's mostly gun prowess rather than gas prowess there. But I just don't think it's going to matter on this particular map, because Kaid is proficient on the side of NIP. So he's going to run the Maverick. I think even if Hibana's open, I don't think he will run it. And I think it's just map dependent.
I'd just rather see Shaiko be on the map if I'm Nip, because then at least I know there's a certain amount of things he has to do first.
Yes.
He doesn't have the freedom to just snake around and all of a sudden appear on site. We've seen him play quite a lot of Ashe and quite a lot of Hibana. And I'm way more afraid of that happening than in a few map holes.
Yeah, you'll be forced to go down to the bottom floor, specifically on Cash, one of the most played sites, but the most on Clubhouse. You'll be forced to take Lounge, you have to watch for Blue, you'll have to watch for the main stairs, you'll have to watch for Garage. Many angles that can be exploited by the defense. And on Church, we see the Kite plus Legion combination to deny hatches. On defense, do you see any operators be banned other than the usual Mira Echo?
Oh, goodness me. Look, I hope the mirror goes out. I think a map like Clubhouse with a mirror can be something that you're not prepared for because she is so commonly banned, at least in Europe, so BDS won't be prepared for that if that does stay unbanned. Without the Echo in play, which would be very helpful, I haven't seen a lot of really key IQ play from BDS. Obviously, we'll see whether or not they bring that in, but I want to see the Maestro go on. I think it's been instrumental for both teams.
I'm with you on the Maestro. For Nip, something like Vigil might not be the worst thing either. Shaiko is immensely scary on Vigil. It lines up pretty well with the Jaeger playstyle as well, and if he can get away and waste some time top floor, they might not be able to tell if he's actually top main or bottom floor.
What do you expect then end of this game?
A good one.
Fair enough. Jess?
Oh, goodness me. I'm going to go for my Europe counterparts and just say, look, GG, have fun, and good luck.
Yep, well, we're pretty torn here on the desk, to say the least. But BDS NIP has been no one-sided affair, to say the least. Definitely swinging back and forth between the two. But it's time to get into map number 3. Montreal, are you ready? That's what I love to hear. Map 3, NIP BDS, it's Clubhouse. Hicks and Taro, all yours.
Well, of course we need a third map between these two teams. They have not been able to shake each other, and I am just tickled pink, Michael, to see what happens. But not the same color as the BDS pink.
No, not quite.
Not quite.
A little bit different?
Not quite.
Okay. Good. Good to know.
At least Zorana gave me like a nod of approval on that one. Thanks, Big Z. I appreciate that. That's why you're here. BDS versus Ninjas in Pyjamas. It's down to a simple best of 1.
We'll see how this one goes as the ban phase starts out here. And it's going to be Capital banned by BDS. They are obviously feeling how powerful that Capital can be when left available. Rightfully so. Used a few times for the last map. Maverick being banned out as well. Nothing too crazy so far. That does mean we're going to have both Habana and Thermite in play, as well as Thatcher, which is big, because you're going to be able to do your standard hard destruction, and you're going to be able to get past those Electro Claws. Mira, a very typical ban, especially on Clubhouse. Probably an Echo or a Maestro with the way things are shaping up right now, but no, it'll be a left turn into Valkyrie. That's interesting. That means Echo and Maestro both unbanned. Though, again, when you bring both of them, you're going to lock yourself into a certain style of play and can often leave yourself exposed to pretty aggressive plays from the attackers. And given the way this matchup has been so far, I don't know if we're gonna see much Echo plus Maestro play. We'll see. It's up to BDS to start things off as they begin on defense.
Yeah, I feel like there weren't that many rounds where we saw both of them at the same time.
Because the thing is, you limit yourself in your responsiveness.
Yes. So, some motivation being given from the crowd now to the two teams as we'll start on round number 1. Massive advantage for BDS to be starting on defense on Clubhouse. It's been played by BDS 3 times so far. A 7-1 victory over Wildcard, a 7-4 victory over MIBR, and a 5-7 loss to REC. Can you guess the 2 operators that BDS banned every time? Capital Valkyrie, thanks for playing along.
Oh, you were asking me a question?
I was asking you a question.
Oh, okay.
It was Capital Valkyrie.
Okay.
The 2 operators that they banned this time.
Thank you, partner.
Every time they played this map, they banned the same operators.
Okay.
So they're obviously very comfortable playing around those bans. Maverick and Mira being the bans from NIP. We'll see, starting on defense, what that does. I mean, probably very little. BDS is not going to be accustomed to playing a Mira on this map. It's been played twice by Ninjas in Pyjamas as well, and both of them victories, a 7-5 over Team Liquid and a 7-3 over MIBR. Now, funny thing is that NIP played both of those on the first 2 days of group stages. Since then, NIP has not played this map. Now, whether it was because teams banning it against them because they thought that NIP were quite proficient at it, or whether it was just because NIP weren't comfortable or wanted to maybe hide it. There's some interesting things to keep an eye on as this, whether there's a storyline that will develop there.
I mean, it's been a good map for both teams through this tournament. And I think that's proven to be the story for most of the maps getting played. So we've had a pretty close contest overall. Kamikaze going in through the exothermic, the double EMP to deal with those electro claws that don't exist. And now the wall is open. Better safe than sorry if you're Nib, of course. That's 2 EMPs used up though. There is an Echo Maestro combo, as much as we didn't expect it early on or really at all. Again, it's a very rigid combo to bring because it means that you're going to have less guns up to take the actual push from the attack. And speaking of push, it's Psycho just vaulting in through B. He gets a kill and vaults out. Psycho getting Shaiko. And Ninjas in Pyjamas with the lead-off kill.
Said that a few times in this match. And of course, Shaiko being eliminated, well, that is very detrimental to the chances of BDS, though he wasn't that much of a factor on the latter half of Border. It was a big game from Alems and partially both Renshiro and Rafal helping out. But Alems in particular was, in my opinion, the most valuable player on the BDS team for Border. Obviously, Clubhouse is going to play differently, so losing your Jaeger, well, your anchors are going to be integral. Also looks like they've isolated the Maestro. We had said that maybe we weren't going to see a Maestro and an Echo. Well, not the case. We see both of them. And Rafael's inside a garage. He's got the very common rotate heading into CCTV or towards that server rack. It's going to be watched by somebody on Nip. Renshiro takes out Julio, gets caught by Pino, well refragged. So the numbers still favoring the Brazilian team. Very good patience from Musi to watch this opening.
Rafael holding on the garage is going to be a large problem for Ninjas in Pyjamas if they want to execute through Workshop. From garage, you can hold an angle that will cover the cross that Nip are trying to use here. Softwall is going to get opened up further by the Buck. BDS smoking. There's only 20 seconds left, and there's still Yokai drones in play, likely still Evil Eyes in play. There's the push from Psycho. 2 players at the top of stairs for BDS. Psycho's going to be tasked with getting them, and he's going to run into the gun of Alems, who's had that up and ready. A back and forth here, but the plant's going down. Kamikaze's going to be able to stick it, and he will nail it. There you go. The Echo drone a little bit too late there. Needs the Pyjamas in the post plant, but it's only Pino in a 1v2 as Alems picks up Kamikaze. That's not very easy to win. Flashes out, Yokai drone coming to get the information. The defenders know they don't need to rush themselves if they've got Yokai drones to drone for them. That's a nice shot from Pino. In the 1v1, it's a stick there. Rafael gets off. The fake out, the flash. Rafael trying once again. It's a back and forth, he gets off it, and on it, it's Pino with the kill. And Ninjas in Pyjamas secure round 1.
The young gunner, one of the newer members, with 1 HP, managed to pull that off, and 3 kills are huge, especially 2 in the post plant. He stood alone in that one, played very effectively. Still had time to throw down those flashbangs and then play it with the Type 89 with a reload, as neither member of BDS timed that well enough to be able to push in stride. Now, BDS has a massive advantage starting on defense. Clubhouse is a map that is extraordinarily defender-sided. You can set a good tempo as an attacker to manage to win a round or 2. At worst, the 4 rounds that end up getting won by your defender opponents will be a pretty standard split, 4-2 on Clubhouse. You're used to that. You're already basically halfway to the norm for Nip through 1 round. And after that loss on Border, they need as much motivation and good spirits as they can get.
Yeah. Like you talked about, the weight of those attacking rounds, just so heavy. Now, bottom floor defense. We'll see how this one goes for BDS. I like that they're going to keep things moving. Although, you know, that's so common these days. If you lose somewhere, try something else. Think about how you can come back to that loss. Change it moving forward. BDS a little bit of a different setup here. I might be wrong, but I think there might have been a soft wall on that workshop wall in the last round, which is a little bit strange. And the defensive setup on the basement's even a little bit different. You can see their placement of those holes on the church wall. Slightly different. Looks Looks like it's not going to be a roam strategy, though there are some barricades put up by BDS. Pretty standard stuff from NIP so far. What they're going to be doing is joining off the top floor. They'll move their way down to the bottom floor, or the middle floor, and then they'll start executing onto the bottom floor. Standard fare. Looks like it's all anchors for BDS right now. The most you get in terms of like a roamer is going to be Rafael inside of Dirt Tunnel. And that doesn't really count, so. It's mostly just waiting here for BDS. They're going to want to waste as much time by doing nothing as possible. But that's standard because NIP have to thoroughly clear out and drone the top floor, the middle floor before they push in. Otherwise, they risk the whole round.
It is a little strange to see a Clubhouse defense with nobody roaming, given what's been happening with Mute, Mozzie, and Castle on defense. But BDS are running a lineup that we would have seen prior to Mozzie even really being an operator.
Yeah.
This is a very vintage lineup with the exception of RXWD on Legion.
There's some, it's not the only vintage component. The lineup, like you said, the setup, the way they're playing it. It works though when you're on a map like Clubhouse. So you can play this one much like the way it was back at the start. Now, it is going to be an execution through Moto and Church Wall for Kamikaze. EMP, Excaros, the bandit batteries to counter. It will get one set of Excaros. That's big. The second one in the middle wall, that's detonate though, and the exothermic as well. So the wall well and open. Ninjas in Pyjamas get a kill off it. That's big.
Down goes a Lems to Musi, and well, you've still got the bandit of Renshiro right near the wall, but he gives his position away, tosses out a C4, that just narrowly misses as they're huddled in the corner trying to evade that explosion.
Would have gotten two had he hit that, but it didn't go through the door.
Shaiko manages to get out of blue, taking some damage. Actually, no, he's been pushed farther back in. He's actually over by Oil Pit. Nip, very hesitant to push in. Musi decides to go for it himself. It prompts the smoke to appear as Shaiko falls. Down goes the bandit, RXWD, playing by back of Arsenal. He's still in there. Toxic canister goes out. Kamikaze will not be able to plant. He'll go over towards default. But there it is. He'll choke to death. 15 seconds. Excellent play as RXWD's in as well. The Thatcher in a 1v1, 10 seconds. He'll go for the plant. Julio versus Rafael, 1v1. The smoke will have to go for this engage. He doesn't necessarily know. Julio falls off. Rafael has the drop on him. There's a drone there. They'll dance around it. He's clutch all the time. Magic happens when Rafael is in a 1v1. BDS equalize.
The plant comes out, but the clutch is big, as Parker said for Rafael. What a 1v1, and what an excellent round on the church wall. Nip had a strong advantage after they opened that wall, but they just couldn't bring it all the way. And so, we go to the even scoreline.
Attackers have located a bomb.
CCTV cash for the next defense.
Pino gets the clutch in the round before that, and then it's Rafael afterwards. Julio actually been one of the most consistent and best carries when it comes to clutches, so remarkable.
Lots of clutches in general in this match.
Honestly, Rafael dominated the final 20 to 30 seconds of that round. Why? Well, because one of the big things that he did outside of getting the kills, the 2 kills, were the smoke plays.
Yep.
Kamikaze had nowhere to go. He tried to get through the first one, couldn't do it. Second one, couldn't do it. Third one, he repositioned. Rafael held onto those toxic canisters and was able to totally cover over the openings created by the attackers. Now, everything seemed to be going in favor of Ninjas in Pyjamas on that play. They got a couple picks, they snowballed, they got control of the wall, but the big issue was they never addressed RXWD. There was nobody on flank watch to slow him down when he pushed out of Arsenal over towards Moto, and then the blue control that was lost after Musi killed Shaiko was never replaced because the 3 members of NIP were all in the same area choking on the same toxic canister from Rafael. So a bit of luck, despite the fact that it was well set up from NIP, and a bit of misfortune on their end.
If we're gonna have to deal with this Bandit who's tricking the wall. Capitao being banned, that makes it a little bit more difficult. Thatcher's in play though. Bandit can deal with the Thatcher by just timing his batteries perfectly, but that requires an exceptionally skilled Bandit. RX is one of those. We'll see if he can nail it. He's being pressured as well from the window. That's big.
Barricade is up next to him on the door. That prevents the Zofia concussions from doing anything to him.
Sometimes.
They need to take care of it, and there you go. You can pick away at it from the window. You can also do so from the drone hole. We've seen teams shoot an explosive in there, and it'll blow open the door.
You can see RX is wary of the lifeline from below. He's got an angle set up for that. Uzi getting ready with the lifeline, believing that it's going to be good enough. EMP to clear the batteries and the ADS. Here comes the lifeline, and the Bandit fell back. RX will not bother. Plenty of utility wasted, plenty of time wasted. RX is satisfied with that result.
And Nip get what they were looking for, which is the wall. They're going to double up on that hard breach every time. We already addressed this with the fact that a Maverick ban requires a Hibana and a Thermite, because should you have the misfortune or poor fortune of losing one of those hard breachers, and you only have one, Clubhouse becomes virtually impossible for you to do anything effective on attack, barring you just getting very lucky with gunfights and, well, your opponent's lineup not having any plant denial or anything to deal with and execute. Given the fact that we see Echo available, we see Smoke available, we see Maestro available, there is plenty of plant denial, so you need to ensure that you're not just taking gunfights. Opening frag! BDS's Psycho goes in. The IQ found out, and Lems will have that one as he's playing off-site. Needs to be cleared before the rest of NIP can translate towards cash and CCTV.
That's the first opening frag for BDS. Julio here's one in the bathroom. A little bit of preemptive shooting there. Lems is actually making 2 players on NIP consider him for way too long. There's only 30 seconds left. The site is still cash. And this is a gym execute, it seems like, for NIP right now, because they haven't dealt with the Lems. They're going to eat some damage there, but they will get the kill. Kamikaze on low. Our XWD will get Pino as well. The collapse coming in through the site, though. Suddenly NIP are in there. They're going to lose too many fights, though, on the cross. Kamikaze and Julio pushing it to cast. Julio on the cover. He will get the C4 thrower. That's a big kill, but from behind, Renshiro denies that coverage. It's a post plant now for Kamikaze. He's got to find 2. His position well known, and here's the push. BDS, another round on defense.
So NIP look like they're doing a little bit better in these rounds, and they actually are. 3 attacks, and they've been able to get the execute every time. 3 diffusers down. That's not bad. But there's little mistakes that NIP are committing, and you'll allow BDS to take these defensive rounds away from you, which they should already be doing. A couple small changes, and these rounds are very much NIP's. Number 1, flank watch and planting in a different spot in round number 2. That alone would have potentially saved the round for you. In that round, once again, no flank watch. The retake that came in from construction was very strong. That's all you need, really. When both members of NIP are looking in one direction, a single person can kill you, and that's what happened. NIP needs something on flank watch. I don't know if it's a Claymore, I don't know if it's a Nomad, I don't know if it's a Gridlock, I'm not sure what, but clearly, not everything is working. Great distraction as well by the Maestro, as we just saw on the screen, to allow that Legion those 2 final kills.
We'll go to Jim for the next bomb site from BDS. They haven't been here just yet. They haven't needed to. Since NIP won the first attack onto Cash, there was an attempted repeat, and we just saw it go the way of BDS. Now, it's really difficult to pull off a Jim defense typically in this level of competitive play. The way that BDS are playing, though, it's definitely possible. Looking pretty solid. Utility play has been excellent for BDS so far. Lems is the one going to be on the Bandit now. He will be tasked with slowing down the Jacuzzi wall getting opened up. You can see this is going to be a vertical round for BDS as they open up almost the middle, not the entirety, but the majority of that gym floor. They're going to want to play it from below and also on the roam. Your cash roamers can late in the round come underneath B and now shoot the planters. The Pyjamas have to consider this when they go for the execute. Doesn't look too much like we're going to be seeing a cache clear. NIP are setting up primarily for the Jacuzzi wall right now. This is standard. There hasn't been, again, no cash pressure yet, but that can change at any moment. We do have Muzi, or no, rather, Psycho on the buck over there right now.
It will almost certainly change at some point, because when you attack Gym Master, a lot of teams will go for logistics and construction as the two most important parts to push through. They won't just vault in the window of Gym and go for a plant, though that is an option that teams have explored in the past. It really depends on the situation on that soft wall that we just saw. Most of the floor is shot out. There's a rotate hole, it appeared, towards the back of the barbell set. So, yeah, right there.
It looks like there's not a lot of players underneath for BDS just yet, but again, that can change at any moment. Ninjas and Pyjamas have 4 people stacked up on the jacuzzi wall and ready to push into the site. They're droning it out extensively. There's 3 drones active on jacuzzi wall now.
It's a very strong site for Goyo as well, as he will soak up so much utility, especially if there was a castle on the board. The good news for NIP is that the only other real utility you need to worry about will be the Evil Eye cams, but taking out those ADSs of Shaiko are going to be your first step. There was also a member of BDS playing inside of the bathroom. There is almost certainly going to be an ADS nearby, and if an EMP goes, well, what's going to happen? Oh, it's going to get opened up. No, that frag grenade actually misses. Renshiro didn't have an ADS in there, and now he's as good as gone. Second frag grenade goes in, it'll blow up, but do nothing again. These are missed opportunities for NIP. There is no follow-up on the 2 nades from the buck of Psycho, and with that, NIP realize they're almost out of time. They've got to go somewhere else. They'll fall off of Jacuzzi and look towards stacking up on the windows and maybe establishing construction control.
Not a lot of options for execution considering that bathroom wall didn't get opened up. BDS are comfortable to wait. RXWD holding on to Office. He's got to win this fight against Psycho, who's challenging from the drop, but he loses it. That's big. NIP now can use Office to their advantage. Kills going left and right, Ninjas and Pyjamas getting most of them. There's another as Shaiko gets aggressive in Gym. Lems now has to retake from Workshop, but he's stopped dead in his tracks. Psycho the final and the first, and NIP will take another attack.
I don't know who called that. Likely Kamikaze, maybe Psycho, but boy, was that a smart decision from them to just move and move quickly, because BDS seemed very restless. Once they'd lost that jacuzzi wall and they'd been forced back deeper into the site, they didn't seem to know where NIP was coming from, whether it be the windows, whether it be construction, and then what looked to me to be just 3 isolated 1v1s, in which most of the time is a 50-50. You flip that coin and that's it. It's over. You lose that coin toss 3 times, it doesn't matter how close you were, it's now a 2v5. So the pacing here for Ninjas and Pyjamas, as is with most of their games, has been very strange. They try to keep their opponents on their toes by sometimes being very quick at their executes. It gives the appearance that they are stalling, when in reality, they're in full control. The problem is that when they take so much time, if that execute doesn't work, with only 10 to 15 seconds left on the clock, you have no other options. That was a big part of what was troubling for a team like Vitality, who did something very similar. And I would argue that when this NIP team was at their peak, they might be approaching a new one, but when they were on their old peak, way back in the day, as Black Dragons, they were extremely methodical, and they had a lot of similarities to a very slow team like Vitality on how they executed.
Shaiko currently with 0 kills in this match, and it's only 4 rounds in, mind you, but that is going to be a big difference maker for NIP.
He wasn't that big of a deal on border when they were on defense either, or attack rather.
He's not been the top performer, I think.
Or no, it was defense.
It's mostly, no, okay. Overall, if you look at the macro, he is the top performer for the team over this match, but he's closely followed by a Lems. And map number 2, yeah, map number 2 wasn't his best. I mean, that was we're talking about Lems there. He had a really good performance. It's all about this last one, though, as you said at the beginning, and I completely agree.
This is huge if NIP can win this round in particular. Not only do you crack Church, which you haven't done yet, Church and Arsenal, of course, a very strong bomb site for the defenders, just like every bomb site, maybe not Gym, as most teams tend to lose that site. But If NIP can come out ahead, they guarantee themselves 3 attacking rounds on Clubhouse. That's excellent. That's a good spot to be in. You're very comfortable. You are a good team on this map. You're a good team on defense. Both of these teams are good on this map. So being able to take away the advantage that comes with BDS starting on defense. The operator bans don't really change all that much because these are very standard bans. It's a big motivator for NIP, and it sets them up extremely well when they go to the next, when they swap sides.
Goyo shield dealt with there. That's going to be a lot of utility. Just shot from, I believe, above. No, it was a nade from Psycho, I'm pretty sure. So, an exchange for Ninjas in Pyjamas. And Shiro clearly in an engagement as his ammo count's going down, but didn't see where. Oh, this angle could work out great for Pino. It's all going to come down to timing. And a little too quick on the trigger there. Pino misses an opportunity. He needed patience, and now no one's going to peek that. But it's an attempted plant here as Kamikaze goes for the drop, and he's going to stick it. There's no one to deny. BDS are too far afield. The gas canister comes out, but it's way too late. Kamikaze gets it. Post-plant, kitchen control for Ninjas in Pyjamas, but BDS's guns come alive. They're all on low HP, all but RXWD. But Psycho and Pino now only need to watch that diffuser. Impacts from below, Pino's low, he's gonna miss some shots. It's all on Psycho, but he's dead too! BDS with the retake, and they'll put themselves up 3-2.
BDS have thrived in this position where they have been in that post plant, and with the exception of one great clutch from Pino, at which he couldn't lose it, playing through that one doorway, well, BDS has just masterfully walked right back in, taken control of the site. I don't know if it's Kamikaze or somebody getting a little bit too ahead of themselves from Ninjas in Pyjamas, but Kamikaze's coverage hasn't been that strong. They haven't been watching him the way that they need to. There's been very minimal follow-up after we see the plant go down. Kamikaze is essentially just thrown to the Wolves, and the Wolves rip them to shreds. So BDS, at minimum, they're gonna take half of this first half. They're going to look to go for the throat, but to try and disrupt that. It's a change from Ninjas in Pyjamas, which is the Montaigne coming in from Psycho. It was 6th picked onto, so you're not gonna see it coming. Though Monty does make quite an awful racket, so you'll hear him the moment that he starts to push up.
He was banned by BDS in map number 1, and now it sees itself played by Ninjas in Pyjamas in map number 3, Montaigne. As you mentioned, very interesting pick. We'll see how that changes things. Now, I believe that Montaigne is pretty powerful on Clubhouse in general, but especially so on Cash, because he facilitates clearing that garage, which is such a powerful position for the defenders. You'll likely see that be the primary focus for Psycho. He's had actually standout performances on Montaigne in the past. One big thing about Psycho on Montaigne, he's really good with that pistol. It's like most Montaignes, what they do is they drone for their enemy, or their teammates basically, or like, you know, the face check droning kind of operator. That's what he's good at. And that's the majority of what they'll contribute to the round, as well as pushing defenders off of very powerful positions like rafters and garage. But what Psycho's also capable of doing, since he's just good at that operator, is undeploying and winning gunfights with the pistol. As hard as that is, he sometimes makes it work.
He's gotten 2 or 3 kills, I think, with that shield down the times that we've seen him play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've questioned in the past, why Psycho? Why him? He's he's a great aimer.
Not anymore.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of destroyed my point there.
Okay, so I've questioned in the past. Why Psycho? Why him?
Yes, but then your question has been answered by how he's played with the Montaigne.
I'm sorry, partner.
It's fine, it happens from time to time. So, where is the Monty going to go? As I don't really understand. It sounds like that's Pino just shooting to make as much noise as possible.
Possibly. Oh no, he's trying to shoot the bandit, maybe? Yeah, he's trying to shoot the bandit on a really long angle. Lifeline comes in, wall gets opened. There you go.
RXWD does not fall off. He attempts to actively trick it this time. It's the same result as before, though, which is the wall getting opened up. So unsuccessful, whether it was intentional or not, from BDS to try and keep that wall closed. What did we say last time? The flank watch of NIP needs to be better.
Oh, this is bad. BDS didn't put any Legion traps on the garage stairs, so the Montaigne can walk up free.
This is a huge W if Rafal is able to take somebody out. Shield drops. There's pressure onto the Maestro. Coordinated. The Maestro's in trouble. He's going to continue to dance. Both of them are flashed. Rafal taking more and more damage. He's down on the ground. Finished off. 2 for Nip. They get the entry that they want. But it's a push-up from Alems onto the top of red stairs. He sees the Montaigne, but there's no rotate. So the Montaigne will have to be vulnerable, but for a second, to head into the site. Julio guns down Renshiro, so the 2 remaining members of BDS are situated at the top of red stairs. Alems has made his way free over to Cash, but there's a smoke that will cut off his teammate's line of sight. RXWD has a C4. The Bandit looked to toss into it, but Psycho is now going to pressure himself onto the Mozzie. Plant going down and a taste of their own medicine after the clash had been so hard to deal with, but that's a flawless round for Nip as they swap sides. No elation, no motivation. For Nip, it just looked like another round for them, but that scoreline, 3-3, Michael, is huge.
It bodes very well for Ninjas in Pyjamas, as the defense is the heavily favored side on this map. 3-3 is effectively a 1/2 for the defense. Or rather, now defense, then attack. So, BDS finding themselves in a tricky spot. They now have to attack onto Nip. It'll be a bottom floor hold for the first round. They're going to actually, interestingly, 6-pick out of a Maestro onto a castle. That changes the dynamic a little bit. So it's likely going to be a roam. They are hiding the castle to prevent their opponents knowing about the roam, because if you bring the castle on a basement hold, it just broadcasts, hey, we're not going to be all on the site. So smart from Nip there, bringing the Maestro and then 6-picking it. We'll see if the roam actually works out, though. That is not a guarantee. We have seen this set up quite a lot throughout this tournament. We have seen it popularized by North America and brought by other regions, but it is in general a very common setup these days.
5 seconds to go.
It's an annoying lineup from Nip.
Oh yeah,
to deal with.
The mute Mozzie combo.
Now, Latin America has been running this strategy a lot. It was one that was popularized in many ways by Space Station Gaming. They'll be playing later today against TSM. And essentially what you want to do is you want to take as much time as possible away from the opponents, because this is already a site that requires a lot of time for you to execute onto. Unless a team just decides to go for a blue rush, most of the time you're going to look at about 1:45 to 2 minutes and 15 seconds before you really start to clamp down on the site. When you add in a mute, when you add in a Mozzie, when you add in a castle, not only are you going to bleed the attackers dry more than usual, but you also waste so much more time. The problem is that if the attackers are really good at clearing it out, they've got those hatches open that you have done for them. That saves them a tiny bit of time. So really, it comes down to BDS's confidence and their competence.
Drone work being done here by BDS and Tunnel. Electricaw will be dealt with by the EMP. Muzi, though, gets the lead off. There goes Alems. That's, what was that, a push down blue? Alems picked off early. Not entirely sure where from.
It sure looked that way. I mean, that's where Muzi was, unless Muzi had access to one of those hatches, which are opened up, I don't know. Shaiko misses his shots on Psycho above. He'll watch the hatch in logistics. He does a bit of damage to the Hibana, but not much. That was important for Shaiko to disengage. Not only has he not been particularly hot in terms of kills, but additionally, if you lose your Hibana without being able to open up those hatches, your chances of winning go drastic down.
Yeah.
Somebody will catch that reference. Somebody out there.
Not me.
I know, but that's, I'm just at this point, I just realized that you're never going to get any reference I ever have.
I've gotten one or two.
Sure.
Just not, it's infrequent.
So this mute strategy, this Mozzie strategy, the roam from BDS, has largely been ignored. They're just going to focus on tackling the site head on. And a big part of that is because NIP have recalled their offsite players, except for Pino, who is above. Another flawless round. What the hell just happened? BDS run into their death. And with that, Nip regains the lead.
Tell you what happened there. Ninjas in Pyjamas set up well and had full coverage of all the potential push that was being brought out by BDS. A good read there for the Ninjas. They were right in their assumptions, and they won all their gunfights when it came to the actual site push. The biggest thing is the push through tunnel. That was a huge bottleneck to just run all of your players into. And then the blue push ended up, what started off bad when Muzi got the first kill by blue. At least I assume that's where it was. And it got even worse when they couldn't push past the now non-existent blue hold, since Nip fell off that and just played it on long angles. BDS also put themselves up against a bit of a wall, not only in terms of the linear nature of their attack strategy there, but also in terms of their options they present themselves early in the round. If you're going to go for something like that, a dirt blue pinch, you should still try and open up more options just in case that doesn't work. And I think that when the blue push failed, they should have tried looking for something different, like maybe a kitchen dirt take, because that, I mean, not only is it another very common attack strategy, but it's one that can potentially bear better fruit than what we saw there.
So the real question is going to be, if Nip is extremely aggressive on this map, how is BDS going to be able to deal with that? Because there are few teams that have been able to stand tall against Nip's aggression. Most of them have withered. And in this case, BDS on that round, well, I mean, they didn't really do anything wrong. They didn't look particularly comfortable.
Yeah.
I think you were right. I think they should have made that call earlier, but they didn't. How much of what we saw out of BDS, this is just speculation on our part, how much of that came down to the fact that any attempt to entry was just stalled out and they lost so much of their drone work?
I mean, of course that's going to be a large part, right? Like, basically, BDS set up a strategy and it all just fell flat. Nothing came of it. Every engagement started to go, I don't know, every engagement went towards Ninjas in Pyjamas. It was a flawless round.
Could you do that noise again? There you go, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
You didn't need to, okay, now you're overdoing it.
See,
you're just showing off at this point.
You made me want to. I don't know how.
Frag grenade ready underneath. Beautiful toss. Goodbye, good night, Julio. He was trying to bandit trick, timed perfectly. You see a lot of teams run a Zofia in that position, but a frag grenade will do just the trick. It's one of two that RXDW has, so he can go fishing for yet another kill, should he want.
EMP trying to clear out the ADS, but it actually goes a little bit wide. You can get those ADSs from above with that EMP, but you need to aim it perfectly because that bottom of the sphere of influence from the EMP is going to just barely get the ADS.
Is somebody from BDS going to head on over towards the garage where we see one playing on the rafters? There's an opening that they can come through. BDS falls off. Shaiko heads into construction. It's very important that his ex-Kairos take out that construction wall. He's going to engage, though. He usually wins these. He has not really won them all that much in this map. He's going to allow Pino to try and take out those ex-Kairos. He'll get a bunch of them, leave 4, so you have this Franken hole that gets opened up. But it is enough to see the feet of whoever's playing on the other side. There's another impact grenade, it'll go off. Does it get them all? No, it gets a fair bit, but it actually looks like they might be able to get through. Oh. Can they? No, there's enough metal in the way. A second kill for BDS, that's Shaiko. As the Buck heads on over towards Red Stairs. He's used his frag grenades. One for Alems, skeleton key out from the back, easy fodder. And how about that? 3 flawless rounds in a row, but 2 of them more for Ninjas in Pyjamas, and BDS will get their first flawless of this map.
Big win there for BDS, as Cash was looking pretty solid for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Lead-off kill on the bandit who was attempting to trick. Was the beginning of the end. The execution through Workshop not being halted by that impact tricking was pretty bad. Psycho trying to impact trick above rather than through the impact hole, or rather the Xcaros holes that had already been made. He could have denied that ankle getting opened up, and he thus could have denied his death. Forcing BDS to walk through that bottleneck, which would have been Workshop door, probably would have won the round for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Probably, though, not certainly. BDS did have a significant man advantage at that point. They even had that flank coming up from Cash Stairs. That would have been a salvage had things gone awry on the workshop push. So really everything working in the favor of BDS. But we go to Cash for the next defense. And we'll see how this one goes for Ninjas in Pyjamas. It's the same as the last, though I imagine we'll see a very different round this time. Both of these teams have never failed to adapt to their enemy. Whether they see success off those changes or failure is kind of beside the point. They typically change things.
That was almost a team kill.
That was
almost a team kill. That was way too close for anybody to be comfortable with.
Panicking at that point. You know what? The weird thing, he's only got 21 shots left in that TCSG 12, and that's gonna force Kamikaze to use his pistol probably in a couple of engagements later in the round. So, assuming, of course, he survives. And he's gonna keep using... Okay, this is one of the reasons why you bring a smoke or a mute, is because they can bring that shotgun in.
They can share.
Yeah, they've got two TCSG 12s.
Shared TCSG.
Hand the slugs over.
They're both very low now, 22 and 19. Of course, the sidearm for Kamikaze has a better scope on it. It's just a standard pistol for Pino.
Yeah. I mean, both of these players will suffer in engagements if they are forced onto the sidearms.
How many times does your brain not comprehend that you're playing like Goyo? If I've got the Vector and I go for like a second, like my secondary, I always think it's the shotgun. Like,
yeah, no.
When I'm playing Kite, it's like, oh, I think I have like the Han Solo pistol. Are we about to see a repeat? RXWD looks to do it again.
There's no one there.
It didn't even look like it actually went through the 4. It might have gone a little bit too soon. Shot from Pino, but no, it doesn't hit anybody. So he will retreat in Garage. TCSG isn't exactly the gun that you want in that circumstance, but I mean, a lot of times you'll see a Maestro get played there. There's an Echo on the board of Musi. So you take somebody who's been very good at fragging and you're going to put him on a more support role. He can definitely still frag here. They can't miss his shots because the recoil on that MP5 SD does tend to go a little bit high after the first or second shot. It's very deceptive for people who aren't the most experienced using it, not that Musi won't be.
Bomb located by attacker.
Box is going to be doing a lot of work from below, but of course the take is going to be workshop for BDS. They got to be careful in their setup. The wall still needs to get opened up. Ranchira comes in to EMP the wall, and he actually missed that EMP. The wall's still electrocuted. Ranchira will get Psycho, though. That's a big kill.
Jaeger went for the run out on Strip. This is something that we've seen Nip do before, so it is well read into. The other EMP is there to get the wall open, so they just need to get the hard breach in there at the right time. But there will be impact grenades for possible impacting. That impact tricking, Shaiko waiting. It's gonna be a construction take, but Nip might be able to watch this. As yes, the X-Kairos do nothing. 2 kills for Ninjas in Pyjamas as they hold and just right now push off every member of BDS. There's another for Julio and a final for Pino. Nip regained the lead on the seesaw that has been this matchup. Up and down again. One glaring difference between these teams, Michael, are the 4 plants that went down from Ninjas in Pyjamas with 0 so far through 3 rounds of BDS. So regardless of what happens over the next couple rounds, BDS will not be able to match that same total. They have not been really going for the execute, or if they have, it seems like most of the time they're just going for individual picks onto Ninjas in Pyjamas. But if they're going for executes, they are falling well short. Also worth noting that BDS, at least if my eyes deceive me, BDS has not taken a single timeout. They don't have a coach, at least not one that's with them. So there's no real point in doing that for the coach to be able to speak with them. Nip have taken theirs in the previous 2 maps. Now, they don't really need to, because why would you want to blunt your own momentum? But if things go south in a hurry, and it ends up going to a possible 6-6, or if Nip has the match on the line, or BDS has the match on the line, there's potential for you to use your timeout, or even use it in overtime. It could be particularly crucial then. But how cruel it will be on a map like Clubhouse for the team that has to start on attack. For NiP, it might not be that much of a trouble because they've won 3 of their attack. They split it. But for BDS right now, if NiP continue up this pace, then BDS, if they were to start an attack, that would be extraordinarily bad.
NiP have looked a lot more convincing on their defensive side. Very solid rounds. This has been a very different map than what we saw previously in the series. The first 2 maps were very streak-oriented. Both teams picking up lots of rounds back to back. In this map, we've only seen 2 instances where, well, in this case, each team had gotten 2 rounds in a row. It's different. And I think it speaks to the pressure that we have for both squads in map number 3 to be successful here. I mean, think about the difference it makes between winning this series and not. That's so significant. You get another chance to push all the way to those finals. It's not going to be those finals just yet. If you win this, you're going to have to play against the loser in the next match today. But here's Renshiro, the first pick. Pino with the shotgun out, but it's a team kill from BDS after Shaiko gets Pino. That's a bad one there for BDS. And it'll actually leave NiP in the man advantage despite that refrag.
Shaiko got team killed and immediately just took his hands off his keyboard and mouse and slouched back in his chair. You know that with how important this round is, that those kind of mistakes cannot happen ever, but especially not now. That is a massive, deflating moment for BDS as they trail, and they had every opportunity to be able to keep it close. So what do? Well, it looks like the plan is to just head on in. Alems gets a mark from a drone, tries to follow up, but doesn't do enough damage to Julio. The castle will live to see another day, but RXWD will not. They thank him for the team kill by giving him a present. It just happens to be a bit too explosive for his handling. Alems angrily taking the fight over towards Arsenal as he's got Rafael by his side. They're stacked up and they don't seem to be too keen on much objective play right now. It's Alems crouch walking towards the end of the hallway. He gets spotted for just a second. So much damage that he will have to back up. Exothermic charge blows open the wall. A minute left. Down goes the Zofia. Match point within the grasps right now of NiP. All they need to do is find Rafael, and they will do just that. Latin America, 1 round away from being in the final 3 here in Montreal.
Europe 1 round away from being eliminated. It's a very different land than what we're used to, but it sure is exciting. Ninjas in pajamas. So very close.
You'll have to do it by completing the cycle on a map, or on a site rather, that is the least defendable of the big 3 sites we see on this map, and that is gym and bedroom. There's no way with this much pressure on their shoulders that NiP would bother to go to Barstock. So instead, gym bedroom is the site. You look at the lineup for NiP, it's going to be a utility soak heavy lineup to a certain extent, but not as much as it could be. Castle out of the mix, Maestro out of the mix. They're gonna go with a bit of intel and lots of fragging power. Psycho excels on those ACOG rolls. In this case, it's gonna be Echo. Maybe not the same as when he plays on Doc. He's not gonna have the same freedom to move around that he wants to, and he's going to be a bit more hesitant to engage in fights because those yokai drones are way too valuable. But still, it'll be a comfortable spot for him to be on.
Setup right now for Ninjas in Pajamas is going to suggest to us that they want to hold cash firm and for a long period of time. This is standard on Gym, as if you only hold the bomb site, you give no control to your teammates later in the round, and no delay whatsoever, allowing the attack to set up and basically go at a leisurely pace. There'll be lots of denial on the side of NiP as well. You can see a Bandit and a Kaid being brought, likely the Kaid used over by Cash, and the Bandit being used on the Jacuzzi wall. That's gonna give you a nice spread of hard breach denial. Now, Muzi is going to be a linchpin here for NiP. The reason being is that he is holding that cash staircase by himself. So when the pressure comes from BDS, if he dies, effectively, Pino's going to have to fall back or he's going to die too. So Muzi has a large job, but BDS's first mission is going to be opening up the Jacuzzi wall. As you can see, they're going to try that. Bad flash there.
That's a bit of a miss.
They're going to try that with lifelines. Try and disorient the Bandit if he decides to trick with the EMPs as is standard. Exothermic to open the wall. Flashes to clear the ADSs, but again, with that miss from Rafael, that might cost.
One missed flash can actually be a huge deal. In a post plan, it can be a huge deal for clearing out ADS. It can be a huge deal for helping with roam. So,
yeah.
I mean, not that that's the round, of course, but it is something where these teams have accounted for using their flashes precisely. Wall on Jacuzzi gets opened up, and at some point, I suspect BDS will want to head on over towards the construction site. Trying to just click-clack away at the feet of BDS was Psycho, who was prone watching the drone hole, and very narrowly does some damage to both Shaiko and Rafael, who are positioned over there. 3 members of BDS watching that Jacuzzi. Nitrocell goes out, not quite sure where, but a frag grenade from RXWD has been accurate with them a couple times. He will claim Kamikaze and give his team the leg up on this round.
No response from Nip just yet. A whole minute left for BDS to get this execute. Second nade coming out, and it looks like it's gonna land. There it is, and yes, it does. Pino on the floor, and BDS in a solid lead. The wide peak there is ill-advised. That player gets shut down. Ninjas and Pyjamas start to fall apart, but they're actually putting kills on the board. Pino's still down, but he gets picked up by Muzi. Now it's a 3-on-3 from a 2-on-3. Ninjas and Pyjamas very far off site. BDS has control of the bathroom and gym. They're gonna go for a plant. They've got good coverage, and again, plenty of time. Rafael goes for it. There's no Yokai, it seems. Here come the kills, though. Psycho gets one. Yokai's there! A denial, and a big one! But there's still plenty of time, so no rush for BDS. Big kill there. Muzi goes down. Psycho's gonna have to clutch up hard. He gets the second deny. Only 20 seconds left for that plant. It's a stick from Rafael, so a one-on-one effectively here. Psycho wins it! And now another one-on-one as Rafael's in the post plant. There it is, though! Psycho! 4K! And Ninjas and Pyjamas, the 7-4, taking the map and the series! Europe's gone! Let him forward!
We talked about how he would play on that echo roll, and I don't think we ever expected it to look quite that good. Things started to go bad in a hurry for Ninjas and Pyjamas, but they bailed themselves out in one of the most spectacular fashions. They will wait for either TSM or Space Station tomorrow, but Europe, as you said, is out. Nip in the final 3. They have just battled adversity and have always persevered. Another incredible match between these two teams. They had a lot of good ones against other opponents, and of course together, it was as good as we expected.
Big win there for Nip. And what a weird round to end it on, too. I didn't think it was gonna end there.
I am shocked, absolutely shocked, as I'm sure an awful lot of people are with what happened at the end of that round.
No idea.
An inhuman effort from Psycho.
Yeah.
He has been one of the most consistent players on this team. He's been around in this scene for years, and they rebuilt around this core of Nip. And of course, it's Psycho who comes up huge. But as I'm sure we may have more in the future of this event, Ninjas and Pyjamas are down on the stage with Anna, and we get to hear from your winners.
Congratulations on that win. How are you and your team feeling right now?
We are really happy. Like that last clutch, it was like it's history moment, you know. That this clutch moments is for the history, I think.
I know that you guys have just had your heads down. You've been playing your absolute best. Did you expect this outcome, or when did you know that you had the win coming?
Like I think never. The 3 maps is good maps for them, you know. The map pool is the same for us. Like they like bank, they like board and club. So you know it's gonna be a tough match. But I think that's it.
Now you're looking at this bracket, and you know that either TSM or Space Station Gaming will stand in your way. How do you feel about facing either of those teams?
Like we screamed them. We've already faced TSM, and we know we have everything to win.
All right, well, good luck as you move forward. Congratulations.
I want to say thank you to the Brazilian fans and to the international fans too, to everyone. Thank you.
Woo! Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, Anna. And yes, NIP came up big. Psycho came up big. Guess how big he came up? $150,000 extra big. They went from $270,000 to to 420,000. That is a massive amount of cash that just that Echo play won NIP. And of course, progressing forward, NIP has been in this situation 2 years ago when they played against the eventual victors of SI 2018 and the Sports, now G2. The core of this roster here are looking to do it again.
My goodness. And if you look, shout out to us, RX, who just had an absolutely whopping round to have his team turn around and unfortunately throw that in the end. It was a bit of a choke by BDS, and my goodness, those grenades were perfect, and to have everything go perfect for both teams in multiple areas, that's the round you want to finish on. So I'm glad that it did finish that way.
We had quite a few of those rounds where it just looked impossible for NIP to win, and then within almost no time, they just turn it around, or some immense clutch comes out from one player. And in the start, they said that this was probably going to be another easy game. I think BDS proved them quite wrong there, and at least made them work for it.
Definitely did. And it was really back and forth in this matchup, specifically on map 3. There was a point in time where BDS looked like they were poised to really run through the game, and NIP kept striking back. Their defense in cash and in church was very effective, and they're able to predict the angles coming out from BDS when they were coming from the attacking side. How were they actually trying to do that? What were the tools that were bringing to slow things down and get that information?
I was really happy by the defense of both sides, actually. I was really happy by how they set up. I was a little bit, I guess we underestimated that NIP would be so effective on both of their sides. I think we just assumed that maybe their attacks or maybe their defenses would be their strong side, but they set up really well on both sides. I think both teams really struggle with things like, if you're going to ban a Thatcher, please Bandit Trick at the very least, and Alex said this before, and I agree. And if you're going to play at least a Kaid or something that you know is going to take the team a little bit of an extra time, play it effectively. I think both teams struggled with that a little bit, and it allowed walls to get opened way before they should have been opened. And oh no, you have to excuse me on the Thatcher ban.
Capital map.
Thank you, the Capital ban, so that you could not Bandit Trick in that spot. But we did speak about, you've got Kaid, you have multiple options, and people were just going underneath with grenades, and no one was challenging. Not even a vertical hole in cash to be able to challenge RX below. Why not?
We talked about that in the pre-match as well for map 3. Is like, if you're going to do this, make sure that you're at least holding on to Lounge as much as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, they have quite a few ways of dealing with this. So they try to bullet hole to hold the door, but you see such a tiny amount, and it's not really viable. One thing you can do is you can overstim with Duck. Sure. You can use them aggressive, so Bandit always has more than 120 HP, which means he's never going to get insta-killed from the grenade from below. So that gives you a chance of at least staying there. You could have someone actually fight downstairs, put 2 people down there, because if the wall doesn't get open, well, then you can afford it.
Our highlighted player of this matchup, let's put him up on the screen and show you who that was. We'll see, yes, it's Muzi. Favorite operator in the Zofia, the Jaeger on defense. That's a pretty high rating if you ask me. 43,848, that's probably the highest rated player in the history of Rainbow Six.
I will say there's probably a little bit of a bug there, but
fair enough, he had the impact.
Just tiny, right?
No, God, that is an error of some kind. If it's not, my goodness, we've just seen the best player to ever grace our stage, and I'm glad I saw it live. But Muzi had an impact in almost every single map he's ever played with this team whilst we've been at SI 2020. And I think if you're a kind of player, even if they don't make it to the end, even if they don't take out the top prize, I think this team will be extremely happy that they had the impact that they had, and that Muzi had probably the tournament of his life.
Oh, well, Jess, do you have anything to show us there on the screen?
I do. Production decided that they would send over a beautiful clip of what everyone in the crowd missed when we saw that flurry of a round in round 4, where unfortunately NIP had opened up Jacuzzi Wall and they were not able to get themselves in there, so they decided to do a pinch push instead. And when you've only got 20 to 30 seconds left, that's extremely difficult. So let's bring that up on the screen if we can. Pretty please, production.
Walk us through it, please. We have our telestration station here.
Oh, there we go. Excellent. Alrighty. So what you are seeing on the screen now is round 4, and you'll see NIP going for a cash, gym attack here against BDS. And of course, It's extremely set up. You can see them all moving over to Jacuzzi wall to get that open. They've got the Zofia there if they need to concuss, if there is a bandit trick. They've got drones zooming in. But unfortunately, and we'll pause it right here and we'll have a big look, there are 2 bandit charges sitting on the wall just free to be Thatchered if they wanted to. No one there to challenge whatsoever, no bandit tricking whatsoever. So I think that's the first downfall for BDS in this particular round. Now, if we continue on, we can see that they do end up just opening the wall rather quickly. And you would think for NIP at this point, it should be an easy push into gym. However, they have decided to double reinforce the bathroom wall, which means they also need to open that line of sight there, because without that open, you can struggle. You can leave it closed because it also keeps you safe, but a lot of teams opt to open that one up. And Renshiro is playing behind there. He has an ADS, but unfortunately, the placement of that ADS is a little too far over, and I would have liked to have them see played it around here or anywhere else that it would have caught that grenade that did eventually come over, but we can see them setting up. Unfortunately, a couple of drones do get destroyed, but so many drones coming out from NIP here. You can see that the Jacuzzi take is what they had planned to do, and we move ourselves forward through this round. Droning happens for approximately 20 to 30 seconds in total. They keep waiting for picks to happen, for people to peek, and as we all know, BDS do really like to peek, but no one is peeking. Shaiko bouncing his way around the Go-Yo shield, and then they decide, okay, we are going to open bathroom. But right at that moment, they get shot off, and the impact comes out, and only 4 X-Kyros in total ever make it out to open bathroom. That means they have no control, they have no opportunity of knowing how many people are holding lines of sight, and they cannot plant. Now they've got less than a minute left with a barely openable enough area to look through on those reinforcements, and it is now that they decide that the rotate needs to happen.
In that moment, there was even a Maestro camera that was sniping up.
It did, to get the left-hand side, exactly.
Exactly, that's really what made it so easy for the defense to just not have to worry about the Habana anymore.
Absolutely. Now, you can see them droning around again. Mind you, at this point, we've probably seen 7 drones go around for approximately a minute and a half. You can see Kamikaze moves in to see whether or not he can get any hallway control. And this is the pivotal part of planting in gym, is having that hallway control. And unfortunately for him, he does have RXWD holding the angle onto the hatch. Now that's a really key room if you want to be able to do a pinch push. Of course, the buck on the hatch takes out RXWD, and that's what we did get to see live, but we didn't get to see this half of the map as it went through. Shaiko being the key defender here who could have stopped this push from being what it was. Unfortunately for him, he didn't decide to use any of the Go-Yo shields to his disposal. So as this goes forward, we see Kamikaze move up through the barbed wire, and unfortunately the peak coming out there, not very effective from Renshiro there. He gets taken out. Julio there to be a possible refragger, and right here is where the critical mistake goes wrong. Shaiko decides to move up into the hallway instead of shooting both the Go-Yo shield, which was here, which you can't see, and there's another Go-Yo shield right here. And they opened up pretty much all vertical holes to be able to play underneath, and no one did it. So now they're just hoping on horizontal gameplay. They move on up, and at this point, NIP know that all they need is kills. They do not even need to go for the plant that they had originally set up for. They have stock control, they have stairs control, they have hallway control, and now with Shaiko dead here, they have pretty much every bit of control you need. And if you're the last player all the way over in cash, you're feeling pretty sorry for yourself. And that's why they were able to hold every single angle they needed and just go for kills. So if you missed out on that one, that's what happened on the Jacuzzi side of the map.
And one of the most impressive things about that whole ordeal is that they wasted all their utility and got nothing done. And then they decided to rotate and just pinch instead. The fact that you can use all your Sophias, all your Habanas, get almost nothing. They got, you know, that tiny little hole, and then they removed 2 Maestro cams with all their utility. And it ends up just being a combat pinch instead.
Yeah, fragfest to say the least, but it's the droning that happened for those 20-30 seconds that really helped the assault, even though it wasn't enough to just open up the walls and go through them. Maybe BDS got a bit ahead of themselves in the round, but at the tail end of it, you have to do some evasive action. Yes. But it ended up not really mattering too much. Let's recap our bracket and where we've been so far in the tournament. 1 game out of the 2 today has already been played. Of course, 2-1, an amazing game between NIP and BDS. If you're just coming in, highly recommend you watch this once the tournament is over. But TSM Space Station is our upcoming game. EU has been knocked out of the tournament. NIP are now standing in the same spot that they have been a couple of years ago. And North America has a huge chance of winning. No matter who wins between TSM and SSG, there will be a grand finalist from NA, and the loser of that matchup will be playing against NIP for a shot at the grand finals again. I have to say, it was pretty darn exciting. Thank you both so much for being on here at the desk. But that was game one. Again, game number two will be starting off a bit later between TSM and SSG. In the meantime, though, there's a bit of a season panel, if you guys saw it on the schedule. Maybe some cool things to be revealed? I think so, too. Before that, though, a bit of a commendation for one of the Ubisoft members that have been working so much on Siege, Monsieur Pascal Deschâtelet, and his commendation.